All right, for those of you who are watching from this point forward, if this is the first time you're seeing what we're doing here, let me explain the premise before we get into the analysis of the Heavensward expansion. I have a background in literary analysis. I used to be a public school English teacher. I now tutor language for grades 7 through into college. And I've got a real good knack for structural analysis of literature. It's something I'm very passionate about. It's a type of analysis that I do in my head even when I don't want to. So it's something I can't turn off, so why not share it with the rest of you? The basis of my analysis that I'll be doing is what's called a predictive analysis. I'm going to be examining character traits, their motivations, and I'm going to be looking at the context and the premise of the story in order to, as we go through, make predictions about what I think may happen from that point. Not just one thing I think will happen, but rather the branching options I see coming from this exact point in the plot, wherever we happen to be. And then we simply track those predictions as we go through, and we're judging which ones are more likely, which ones are less likely, and ultimately just exploring how the story is set up and then how it unfolds over time. At no point is my prediction a line in the sand or a flag being put down and saying, this is what I think is going to happen. And then when I'm right, we go, yeah, cool, good me. It's actually the opposite of that. It's the absence of that. I'm not here trying to prove that I am able to keep up with the writers necessarily, or that I was able to follow and predict it or see the twist coming before it happened. I may not. The whole point of it is simply to show how a plot line and characters can be broken down by their mechanics, and that we can analyze the structure and the viability of a story and how effective its writing is based on the congruence of those factors: the characters' traits and their motivations, the context and the premise of the story, create the bounds and also the pressure systems in which all movement happens. And so that's what we're going to focus on as we go through. A couple things I'm going to say. On top of that analysis, I will also still have personal opinions about what I hope to see, things I hope to not see, and we're going to be breaking down a full critique of the narrative as we go through it. At times, it will be very positive, lavishing praise when I think that they've done things very well or when they have satisfied me personally. And then there will be times where I am very critical of the game, where I think that they have fallen short of their potential, or when I believe they have committed to tropes that damage the integrity of the story, or when the characters may not be very well developed or may go against their development in some way. I'm going to critique those things. My job is not to sit here and tell you that something is good or bad. The language I'm going to try to use is that this is successful or this is not successful. This is a viable and valid structure for the story, or this is a problematic structure for the story. I am not attributing a value. And at no point should my opinion affect yours. Just like your opinion isn't going to affect mine at all. All of my opinions are based in my personal response to what is a work of art, but is also my academic dissection of what is a structural narrative that is based on the science of the narrative. So I'm going to be examining those things on two hands. That is the structural analysis and the plot analysis and the predictive analysis and all the analytical side, but also the creative appreciation and whether it was just emotionally satisfying for me as an individual. I may not like the things that you like. That doesn't make mine invalid, and nor does it invalidate yours. So as I go through this, that's the plan. We're going to be looking at all of the main story quest line as well as some side stuff as deemed by the community as being stuff that I definitely should look at, usually because of its narrative merit or its reputation. I will largely stay focused on the main stuff, and we'll veer off to side content as we pass by it, if elected by the community to check it out. After we've cleared the MSQ, we will then go into the post-patch content, where we'll also be doing any of the raids that open up, all of the challenging content that follows. You will see multiple videos throughout this series that are our raid nights. We are formalizing and dedicating certain nights of the week to be formal raid nights for the group, and I will be participating in those. And so on those nights, we will not be looking at the main story. We will actually be trying to make progression in some of the most difficult content that Final Fantasy has to offer. Last thing I want to say is that I am playing blind from this point forward. I had some previews, I had seen some cutscenes, I had seen some little moments from ARR because I had previously made a stint of playing it in the past while skipping every cutscene and ignoring all the dialogue because I was only there for the crafting and to hang out with friends. However, in Heavensward, I have seen nothing, I have heard nothing, I know nothing, except what I have seen at the end of ARR and what I'm going to experience starting tonight. My community has been very good at stopping me from seeing any spoilers, and for any of you who want to talk about my analysis and especially about things that you don't want me to know, confirming my suspicions, talking about my analysis in ways that you don't want me to see it, go to our Discord, and on the Final Fantasy section, you will find that there is a forum post that I made, and there you can post whatever you want. I will never click on it, I promise you, and so whatever you post there is completely safe from my eyes. Anywhere else you talk, I will sass you back, absolutely. So, for those of you joining just now at this point in our journey through Final Fantasy, welcome. For those of you who have been here, strap the fuck in because you know what it does from this point forward. I'm very excited about this expansion. We're going to start by watching the opening trailer here in a second, and then we're going to get in and jump right into it. So, I'm very excited. So, without further ado, let's pull this up, and in we go. Config, let's see. Where do I do this? Other settings? Let's see if I remember what theme settings. Nope. Is it even here? Is it here? Oh no. I feel like I should know. Data, oh, movie's the title, there we go. Heavensward, okay, so let's go see what this... Mando, I feel like I should be playing Dragoon. I feel like I should be playing Dragoon. I am level 50 Dragoon. Why am I not playing that as my main class? Holy shit. Okay, there's some things to break down there. What's really interesting about what this, clearly this new protagonist is of this expansion, is it's clearly evident that he knew of the plot in Ul'dah somehow. He knew of it, but was too late to do anything about it. And it's interesting that after that, it seems he chose to go to Ishgard. I have some suspicions about the nature of his relationship to what's going on here. It's way too early for me to just take stabs in the dark right now because it's so open. Anything would be realistically valid at this point. So I'm going to wait for more information before I start saying this is likely to happen, that's not likely to happen. No, that was fantastic. It reminded me actually a lot of Demon Souls. Nope. I almost want to watch it again. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's watch it again. I want to watch this. This time I'm going to talk over it. Okay. A lot of motifs going on here right now. We have the single vocals. We've got the one line of tracks. This is a symbol of a journey, a longer journey, a solitary journey. We've got the snow motif. He's buried. This is a heavy emotional burden. It's not warm. So we've got a lot of metaphor going on, visual metaphor. We've got a lot of stuff like that happening. His feet seem heavy. Face is partially covered. We're not meant to know who he is yet, but we're supposed to see his eyes. We recognize him as a protagonist. He comes in front of this gate. Then it's revealed. Maybe we recognize that gate or not. I'd have to go back into... we should recognize this hallway as Ul'dah. He's trying his hardest to either make it there in time. He seems desperate. At the same time, she's doing this. We're at the other side of the table, of course. I love seeing this scene rendered this way. Such an important moment in the story, I think, needs to have gotten the justice it got here, especially the couple times we see Raban here. This is just beautiful, the full rendering. Lolorito, that asshole. Yeah, he gives that face twice. This is, yeah, he's upset he was too late. This is as Papalimo and Ida are defending themselves in front of the gate they should have never been in front of. Now we do this time lapse. He's walking slower. There's no more urgency at this point. His axe is wrapped up. He doesn't intend to use it. He's journeying. This is not a march. This is travel. There's a different context here. We see the results of a battle going on. We should recognize this now as Ishgard. We hear the dragons come in, a continuation of that conflict. Music changes. Now it's action-based. He loses his cloak. We now see his face, presentation of the protagonist. He's threatened. He's going to get into a position to fight back, though. Takes a small hit. Nice. But then we're going to see my husband, Estinian, rescue him. Good. He didn't expect it, though. That's interesting. It's not just Estinian. That's a whole second Dragoon. Because that's Estinian up there. I'm pretty sure. Surprised but relieved. Very good. We get that long shot of him. The aftermath of this engagement, or previous one, I think this is when the full calling fell. I love seeing all this armor in the full detail. I mean, these cutscenes are just, beautiful. Final Fantasy, well known for them, their entire franchise. I wanted to say that I love this as there's kind of a nod to Bjeren from Final Fantasy XII. I was looking for the other city-states back there, but I didn't see them. But this reminds me of Bjeren from 12, the floating city. Beautiful. I hope we get to go there. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, the great panoramic of Ishgard here. This is great for us to get a bit of a lay of the land. We see the... whatever, I can't remember what it's called. Transition back to the conflict. Yep. Determined look. He sees the threat coming. There's something in the background, some landmark. I'm sure we'll end up there by the end of the story. Transition to dark weather, because obviously this is evil, and he looks to be the prime villain of this expansion. But still, we have Raban here. Look how aged he is there. He's been there a while. Yep. Ishgard on the defensive and not necessarily doing great at the time. But we see the Dragoons walking toward the danger instead of away from it. They're set up in this heroic method. Nice. Yeah, brilliant. I don't know who this is. This might be that protagonist. His armor looks similar. I'm not sure. No, it's him. He's a Dragoon. Nice. Yeah, very well done. Very, very well done. They set the scene very well there. They set the scene there very well. I like doing those live breakdowns too, because I don't want to talk over it the first time I'm seeing it, but that's what's going through my head at the time. It's just very good. Yeah, it sets the stage. I've got some questions, and a trailer should leave you with questions. Yeah, so that sounds good. I am really tempted to kind of override the poll and say we're throwing Dragoon into the mix. I definitely don't want to get over-leveled. I'd been over-leveled through ARR because I had one class I felt comfortable playing at that point, and it was Bard. So I played Bard until level 62, almost 3. So, you know, this is a class I'm probably not going to play for all of Heavensward unless I'm really forced to, because I don't want to keep pouring EXP into it. What I'm going to do is we're going to be swapping between 2 classes, and now I can reveal to you... maybe Rian, yeah, maybe we do that as we main Dragoon for the MSQ sequence, and and then the other 2 classes that got voted in by the poll are what I'll use for the raid content that we do on raid nights. That could be good. I'm not going to use Bard in raids because I want to use whatever our mains are selected for that expansion. Bard will be there if my other classes are like eating shit. If I'm like, if we're doing raid content and I just cannot keep up as the other 2 classes, I might swap to Bard as a comfort class. But that still has implications because that means nobody else can play Bard. I don't know. I will be fine. I'll be fine. But we're not going to touch Bard for a minute, partially for narrative reasons. Our Bun Boy is known as a Bard, and he is well known probably for this attire in which he killed the Sultana, allegedly. So... we're going to actually retire this class until the conflict is resolved, which I'm sure our name has to be restored at some point. That's just what the arc is. Justice is always brought to the light in games like this that are not tragedies. This game is not a tragedy. There will be tragedies within it, but overall, it's all nested within a comedy in the classical sense. Comedy meaning it's okay in the end. All right, so let me go ahead and tell you the winners, plural, of the poll. Actually, let me go last chance. Let's see if there were any additional votes as I slept. I doubt it, but I want to look. Nope. Okay. Then let me check my results and make sure I got it right. In the lead, the winner, Dark Knight. Dark Knight actually won by 2 points at 38 total. Dark Knight is the winner. But the second place was so close that I'm going to name both of them. I'm going to give you all the results here. Hello. So, in first place was Dark Knight with 38 points. Second place was Machinist with 36. In third place was Astrologian with 24, so there's a massive fall off there, right? And then following that is Summoner with 23, so again, very close. And then finally, Scholar was crippled and left on the side of the road with a total of 14. Total of 14. Yeah, so we are definitely not touching Scholar anytime soon. I do think I want to get Summoner level, so here's what I'm defining as my mains. My mains are going to be the classes that I really focus on training. I'm going to make sure they stay leveled throughout the expansion. Let's go ahead and take a look in here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to guarantee Dark Knight stays at level of MSQ. I'm going to guarantee that Machinist stays at level of MSQ. And I'm going to I'm going to call an audible here. Hello? I knew that Dragoon would be important because of the conflict in Ishgard, and I'd said it throughout the end of ARR that I'm like, I'm really glad I got Dragoon up. One, I got to meet my husband, Estinian, but additionally to that, it just thematically makes sense that we would try to assimilate with the people who have taken us in, not only as a refugee, but as a political exile. They're harboring me as a political exile and giving me, refuge. So, sanctuary, I think would be the word. Political sanctuary. So I think I would probably be inclined to pay it back as a Dragoon. Who else? Who else? There we go. So, perfect. So that's going to be my plan, is I think that Dragoon will also be added in as well. I like that I have 3 different roles, if you will. It's 2 DPS, but I am going to have to learn how to tank, which is exciting and also terrifying, but definitely exciting. Dark Knight and Machinist will be kept on equal level with the MSQ. Dragoon I will continue to level with the MSQ. In fact, I may go figure out my gear for Dragoon real quick and swap to it immediately until Dark Knight and Machinist are ready to go. I think Dark Knight starts at 30. I think Machinist starts at 32. You guys will have to yell at me. Here we go. Could start Dragoon while I'm leveling. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Fern. Good there. Well, the reason I went for Dragoon to begin with was that it seemed like a good class for a Vieira to have. Literally no other reason, except that it was also, I thought, a meme class because it was called the floor tank, and I thought that was hilarious. I want to be a floor tank. I also want to jump around all the time. I thought it was thematically appropriate for the character that we become Dragoon out of all these other ones. It was also important that we became Rogue, but I refused to turn into Ninja. I'll be a level 90 Rogue someday, you believe me. So I think we are going to stick with Dragoon for a minute. Did I see how much you died in coils as Dragoon? I saw how many times you didn't get out of the way of the dive bombs. I don't think you being Dragoon was the reason you died. I think because you're an inferior player to myself is why you died, right? So that's my idea. I think I have full tomestones. Tomestones of Poetics. Nope. I've only got 930, so I thought I had a full 2,000 again. I was going to go buy Ironworks gear, but there we go. Okay, good deal. So I'm going to... Does anyone have recommendations? Can I go just buy a shit tier level 50 armor? There we go. That would be nice. So I do intend to help hold the floor aggro. I really do like that I'm getting to play something other than Bard. Not that I was bored with it, but I feel very good about where it is right now. I'm fine to put it on a shelf and feel like I could come back to it and remember how to play it. As long as my hotkeys don't get fucked up, I'll be fine. I'm also glad I'm not playing Summoner because I really do want to try something very different than what I've done in the past. The first time I went through, I played Scholar. So a caster, a ranged DPS caster, that also heals every now and then. So going to Summoner doesn't necessarily feel that different than the experiences I've had. So I'm really excited to learn some new stuff, which is going to be great. There's vendors and Heavensward MSQ is pretty gentle to start. That's what I figured. I'm probably going to get some gear too. I wouldn't be surprised. Don't I have the level 50 gear set? I feel like I turned it in for, you know what? I did save it. I was a smart boy. Hold on. I've got to go to Limsa Lomensa. Ligma Lomensa. Here we go. Yep. And again, for anybody else who may be popping in, there is a forum post on the Discord, if you look in the Final Fantasy section, if you want to be able to say things about my analysis that you don't want me to see either for spoiler reasons or for spoiler reasons. That's a place where you can talk to other people in the community without spoiling me at all. So that's a good idea. I am going to go... I'm looking for my retainer. Aha. There we go. Because I believe that I stuck my gear on Big Bellboy. I think my Dragoon gear is on Big Bellboy. Items. Yes! Hood of Casting, and then the Worm set. Yes, there we go. I do have it. Perfect. I said I would never need it, but then I was like, but maybe I will. So there we go. I never got the caster boots for the Ironworks casting set. I never got the boots, but at this point, I don't know. I don't have any, I'm not playing any casters, so. I'm not playing any casters, so there we go. Nice. Is that a monk? Shit posting in the middle of the Jades? Not surprised. What if they're spoiling me with praise? You can't spoil me with praise. Feel free to worship the ground I walk on, though. But if you, listen, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you have an academic reason to disagree with my analysis that is not spoiling, I want to hear it. If you have a differing opinion, I want to hear it. Let's have a conversation. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, not sincerely. So this needs to be said. One of the biggest asterisks. One, if you disagree with me, you're wrong. Let's just go into the conversation understanding you are wrong, okay? I am literally infallible. God himself took notes, okay, from what I was doing. Let's just put that on the table and make sure it's understood. I'm literally infallible, and if you disagree with me, even on opinions, your opinion is bad and you're dumb and you should feel bad, okay? However, second asterisk, none of that is true, except for the me being perfect part. And we can have disagreements. Part of what I'm hoping to do here is elicit conversation, especially if you have a different perspective. I may retort with reasons I don't agree with that, but I'm not telling you that you're wrong. It is not an argument in the sense that one of us walks away being right and the other one wrong. It is about us refining our understanding through a difference in perspective, which is the beauty of art. I want to know if you see things that I don't see, or if you see them in a way that I don't, I can go, that's really interesting. I don't agree, but that's really interesting. I don't have to agree. You don't have to convince me, and I don't have to convince you. So please engage. If you have something to say, please say it. If it's a spoiler, don't fucking tell me. Put it in the screaming box in Discord, because I don't want to know. But especially the Green Giant, Jolly Green. Is that Umbreon? Is that Umbreon's ult? What do you put some pants on, Umbreon? Or don't. Fuck. I'm no example. I can't wait to get this shit off me. Anyway, you did not do more damage on the Bahamut clear, Panda. The breakdown was borked, and any reporting of damage was skewed as a result. Yeah. Worst case scenario, if you get rid of the job stuff, you can buy it for a pittance at the Calamity vendors. Oh, that's good, Funko. I was worried that if I lost that gear, I would just be fucked. And I'm glad to see that's not the case. All right, so let me do you. Can I slot you into the armory? Can if I drag it over. Okay, there we go. And now, if I equip this, I'm a naked boy. Hell yeah. I'm yelling at Umbreon to put on pants, and I strip in the middle of town. Hello, KBC. Have a dote. And also, if you're free and you've got extra cash, come back sometime. Anyway. Don't solicit people. Damn. Okay, why can't I wear this? Can I not do it from the... Hold on. Take the hat. So why is it I can't wear this? I am a Dragoon level 5. On top of a rock? Hell yeah. Everybody, peer at me. Alright, chest boy. I feel like there's an obvious reason I can't wear this, but I don't know why. There we go. You're technically a Lancer right now. What? Oh, you're right, because I didn't put the Soul Stone in. Yeah, there we go. Soul of the Dragoon. Very nice. Okay, I got it. Nice hint. All right, perfect. So if I go to character menu and I tell me, please equip gear for me because I don't know what I'm doing. There we go. Sounds good. Let's do it. Choker of the... Oh, fuck, we look good. All right, this is not for Bard. Gear set list. Let's make a new... This is for Dragoon. Oh. Oh. Well, there we go. Let's go ahead and update Dragoon. Cool. There we go. We all got it done. And now what I'm going to do... I'm actually going to take Bard off. I can swap to Bard if I really need to. Do I remove? Actually, I'm going to put this button over here because I'm actually going to have a mute Bard's button right there. So I can put my rat right there. Put Bard there. I've got Summoner. I probably don't need the Summoner button. Put Dragoon. I'll put Dark Knight right there because I'm only going to be using Summoner kind of on the side. I can manually swap to it if I need to. I'm not sure. Anyway, Damn, I'm looking really fucking good. And then this looks like, what, the level 60 gear? Is that what you have, Panda? Level 60 gear? Looks fantastic. I look like a, you know, a young cadet of the Dragoon Squad. Can't wear a helmet, which is kind of the iconic part of the armor, but that's because Yoshi P is a racist against the Vieira. That's why. 70? Nice. Please eat my rock. I need more rocks. I feel like I do want to unlock all the classes. I'll just never equip Ninja. I'll never actually do the Ninja quest. It'll be the only rock I won't eat. All right, perfect. All right, so we look fit and fresh. Our elbows are going to get cut up to hell, and that's fine. But we can cut anybody we want to with any part of our armor. That is Tom Nook. Nice, dude. I'd like to take out a loan. Perfect. All right, so it's me and my commanding officer, Dragoon. I will almost certainly not be doing a relic for Heavensward. We're going to have to get to that point in the post-content patches, and if we're like, bro, Mico, we're going to need like a month and a half to clear the rest of this raid content, I'll be like, it's relic time. So we'll do there. Okay, so with that ready to go, I think we're actually good to, except that I don't know how to play this class, and all my buttons are fucked. What is all this? The fuck is going on with my Dragoon bar? Did I make the... There we go. Did I... Damn. It's chat when I start talking. Okay. I have all my buttons on. I feel like these are where I put them, but I don't know what the fuck any of them do. Get out of here. I need to... No. No, do not poke. Do not poke Panda. Oh, that poke is cute. I need to make just a UI that is just all of my emotes. There we go. That's cute. Those are very cute, but they have to die. Okay. There we go. There we go. Hello, Panda. The usual dotzer. There we go. You got it. Well, aren't we just a charming couple of lads from Ishgard? Yeah, it's your party hut. I saw that when you were doing your glam stream last night. I was like, damn, that looks good. She has like a box of emotes here, then another box there, another box there, then another one there, but the two in the middle are kind of raised. It's all symmetrical and just beautiful. So I need to do something like that. Because I have some emotes over here that I use kind of all the time. Not really, though. I basically only ever play dead, lean, dote all the time. Stagger, and play dead, which I already said, so it's kind of all I do. I'll have the Mandeville dance there, but mostly, oh yeah, sit and change pose I do. Thumbs up and deny would be cute, but I never actually use them. There we go. Nice. Okay. Well, sounds good to me. Oh, that's a cat boy. Look at him. And he's a Dragoon too. Nice armor, dude. Looking good. You know what this means, though? Hold on. I'm very happy. The loot goblin in me has made a stunning realization. I can now roll need on physical range DPS, melee DPS gear, and tank gear. Fuck yes. All of the loot is mine. And because I know I'm leveling a summoner too, fuck it. I get all of it. I get all of it. Eventually, I'll be an astrologian as well, so fuck, I'm rolling need on everything. Not that that hasn't been happening already. But I need all of it. I need every piece of loot that exists. Give to Mico. Hey, there's Silver. Dude, Silver looks great, too. I love that armor. It's a shame I'll never be able to wear that sick-ass helmet, but love the collar on that. It's fantastic. All of this, it's like a phosphorescent kind of color. Reminds me if you ever played like Need for Speed or any of that. You've got all the car paints and you've got like the really metallic colors and they all look like they're silk or something. This is like silk. Yeah, Silver's color is nice. I might dye this. Can I dye this? Nope, there's no god. Okay. No, none at all. In any case, I think it's time for us to go do some MSQ stuff. Oh, yes, there's Fern. And her, yes, this is great. She looks, Fern, this, I didn't know how to say it the other day. This, I did say this, it looks like it's straight out of Final Fantasy 15, right? She looks like a roadie for the boys in Final Fantasy 15. Like they just put her in the trunk and she pops out every now and then when it's salsa time. You know? It looks great. Looks so comfy too, and you show up with that fucking thing. You show up with that thing to the party like, hell yeah, it's time to roast some shit. There's Yiz, all of the Dragoon meetup in Limsa. My favorite thing is when we start to do stuff like this and someone else is like, oh shit, I'm a Dragoon, let's go. I want to hit the club. It's your bonk stick, it is. This is how you keep the groupies off. It makes sense. Dragoon party. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for being so encouraging, making me feel at home. I do think it would be a mortal sin narratively to not play Dragoon throughout the MSQ of Heavensward. I hadn't realized how valid it would be. I've been joking about Estinian, my husband, he's here. But I mean, seeing that opening cutscene, how do you not immediately go unlock Dragoon? How do you not? So it may be a cliche, I'm sure everyone did this, but I'm gonna do it too. So, anyway, I'm gonna have a good time with it. I need to learn this class though. I don't know what any of these buttons do. I do know that my control 4 is you don't do that anymore, so that's good. I need to figure out what the rest of these do. In any case, I'll figure that out. Hopefully they don't have me fighting much here in the beginning, and I may actually like wiggle my way through the first couple fights, and then offline, I think I'll probably try and figure out basic combos for Dragoons. I'm capable of playing it. And worst case scenario, we don't do much. We'll do like the opening MSQ, and as soon as it kind of opens up, open world, if you will, I think we'll go unlock Dark Knight and Machinist and focus on getting those jobs ready to go. Anyway, that's the plan. Let's go get it done. Speak with Wandering Minstrel for this quest, which I think opens up the trial that we're going to be doing next week, so I'm not going to worry about it now. I do know that I need to go to Kurthus so that I can... Nope, don't return. Go to Kurthus so that I can go talk to the very sad child, and then we can continue on to Ishgard. There we go. Perfect. Awesome, Funkle. Don't feel like you need to give me anything. However, if it's glam, I demand it. So, I loved the Moogle bow, and I think outside of important narrative content as Bard, I'm probably going to put the Moogle bow back on because it was just in the middle of an important cutscene. It's just cool. Imagine you're Bahamut and everyone's got their beach gear on, and a fucking Moogle bow is what kills you. God, awful. Shall I take you to the intercessory? There we go. Fern, you got sweet. When we were doing Fern's ninja glam last night, and we got so close to making a pirate outfit, I'm telling you, it was so cute. It just wasn't ninja. It was its mortal enemy, the pirate. All right. Well, there we go. Tadaru is too cute. She has no purpose in life without the rest of the science. And I do want to say a couple things now that I'm on stream and I'm on the record. Two things. After the finale of 2.55 at the end of ARR, I've been able to kind of commit to a couple things I think are going to happen past that point. I think that the Scions are alive, and here's why. I said it in the Discord, but I want to say it again here now that for anybody who isn't on the Discord and didn't see that message, or if it's a year and a half from now and people are watching this again. I think the Scions are alive, and here's why. It struck me as so odd in the moment, and I didn't know what to make of it at the time, but it struck me as so odd that as we're running, just Menphilia and I are running, and she stops and she says something about Hydaelyn talking to her. She doesn't say what Hydaelyn says, but her reaction is, no. Okay. So I have a new question about what could have possibly been said there. And there are only 2 characters in the game who could tell me what was said there. Couple things. I can almost certainly guarantee the likelihood that we will eventually be told what was said, because they've done this before. When our pet dragon Digimon that sits on our shoulder and speaks at 2 words per minute, I can't remember his name. Was it Midgard Solmer? I'm going to call him Midge, okay? So when Midge was deciding whether to eat us or not, basically, Hydaelyn stepped in and said something to him that we were not allowed to know. We were not allowed to know what that was. So we've had 2 instances of Hydaelyn DMing people around us, and we're not privy to that information. I have strong suspicions that eventually we are going to either talk to Hydaelyn, who will tell us what those things were, or the dragon will tell us what she told him, and Menphelia alive will tell us what she told her. I suspect that the bigger emotional payoff is to not get both of those things at once, but to get them separately from the person who was told. Couple things that opens up is, I think, really interesting opportunities. There is an opportunity that both of them will lie to us. I do not think Menphelia would lie to us, but I do not trust Midge as far as I can throw his ass, which is admittedly far because of how small he is. And I know that Midgardsormr is going to be very important to all of this. And I've said this throughout ARR after we met him, is that, big problem with dragons in Ishgard. We now have a pet demon dragon who is supposed to be kind of the granddaddy to all this shit. We also just killed Bahamut, who is the granddaddy to all these dragons. So, like, we have a lot of involvement in some of the deep, consequential shit going on right now, right? I feel like us being pals with Midgardsormr is going to be a big problem come up sometime in the future. And it is almost, we're the only ones who know that we have this pet demon shadow dragon guy. We're the only ones. We haven't said anything about it, which is also weird to me, that we wouldn't have been like, hey, Emmerich, is this a problem? It's every secret eventually gets revealed. That's just a truth throughout all narratives. So eventually that's going to have to come out, and the only time a secret comes out and it's a good thing is either a Deus Ex Machina or we already knew what was going to happen with it. In this case, a secret coming out can almost never be a good thing, especially because of the premise we've been told. So I'm looking at the 2 times that Hydaelyn has talked to characters, and I think it would be such a bigger emotional payoff if we find out from Menphelia what Hydaelyn said. But I also know, and I keep going back and forth, I think it's like a 60-40 split that I think she's alive. It wouldn't be bad if we find out from Hydaelyn herself, but it wouldn't be as good. But we are due to talk to Hydaelyn soon. It's like we lost our echo. We can't, I don't think did we lose our echo? I can't remember. We're not protected by the crystal, so I think we're severed from contact with her. And eventually that's going to have to get reinstated to me. That's going to have to get reinstated. So maybe in that grand reunion with Hydaelyn, we're going to end up getting more information, and maybe she does a small lore dump about what she said, or at some point past that point. But I just suspect that they're alive. I think they are. Another reason is because we did not see the bodies. We did not see the bodies. Almost all of them were engulfed in this bright light, but we never saw the bodies. They were implied to have been killed, but if you know anything about Japanese tropes, if you don't see the body, they're still alive. Raban was an example of this. Teleji Adeleji definitely dead because we saw the body. They had a full screen zoom in on his corpse. We know he's dead. Or he's very likely dead. Maybe he was just close to dead and then they dragged him off. But like we realized the only reason he wasn't decapitated is because they did not have the model of a decapitated Teleji Adeleji. I think it was literally just a limitation of their ability to render that in the cutscene, and also that it probably would have been way too graphic for their ESRB rating at the time that they probably were working to maintain. So I think there were some video game concessions made, but narratively, he lost his head. We saw both halves of him. Yes, maybe. Maybe. But I want to emphasize something about Teleji Adeleji, because I think I wasn't consistent with my language, and maybe it caused some ambivalence in my analysis, or some perceived ambivalence. I will never claim, ever in my life, that Teleji Adeleji was the good guy. As a meme, I would say he's a good boy. Only because I know, and especially at this point, we know he was not responsible for the plot. I don't even think he was an accomplice, and I was telling Yiz and Rian this earlier. I don't even think he's an accomplice. because if he was involved in it, he would have boasted about his involvement, because he is an absolute ego fucking maniac, as all of the monetarists must be, right? Just by the nature of their position in Ul'dah society. So I really genuinely believe he didn't know what was going on, that he was merely taking advantage of what was in front of him. And then he simply just didn't recognize that the fucking bear in front of him now had nothing to lose. I think he just completely underestimated the depth of Raban's rage. And I also want to point out something else I said in Discord, is that leading up to that cutscene, I was predicting, especially because we found an empty vial, we knew because of certain death flags and other foreshadowing, we knew the Sultana would likely die, rather than getting to have her will known. I think we're literally the only person in the world who actually knows of her last will and testament, which is a very interesting secret to hold, because that has a lot of implications. She wanted to dissolve the Sultanate in favor of a democratic state. So I think eventually that has to happen, because it would be deeply unsatisfying for the memory of her character if that doesn't happen. So I think eventually that's going to happen, but we are going to have to get redeemed, and in that we are going to give the revelation of her last will and testament as a hero of Ul'dah, as a fondly remembered leader, which she is, which she absolutely is. No reason to believe that she was anything other than an incredibly empathetic and compassionate and thoughtful ruler. As much as we joked about her being a puppet of Raban, their relationship was equals, and that was concerning for me, but it actually worked out that they needed each other to have enough power to stand against the monetarists. And it's just very interesting to me, the politics of Ul'dah. As soon as I found that out, it really gripped me. So I was so glad to see that we were going to see some of the natural political turmoil that would happen in that state. But I wanted to say that not only was it very well executed how she died, and I was talking about how the cup full of poison was always in frame. Every time we saw the room, we saw that cup. Every time we saw her, we saw the cup. The cup was always there, which drew a lot of emphasis to it, and you knew she was going to be poisoned. They kept emphasizing the cup as being this key detail. Like, of course it's poisoned. And originally, before we went in, I was like, God, I hope she doesn't get poisoned. I hope that, and it was because we had all of these Alamegan rebels who had been antagonized into a rebellion and misled into rioting. There were a lot of stolen weapons leading up to the betrayal of the Crystal Braves, of Ilberd and the Crystal Braves. So it's like these weapons should serve a purpose. And they did, but I figured they would still be relevant past that point. It's a status change rather than looking at it as a token. We look at it as a status upgrade that the Alamegan rebels now have weaponry. They are now armed formally, as opposed to just like a shanty militia of whatever they could find. They've now been formally armed. So I looked at those two things and I was like, I'm expecting Alamegan rebels to flood into the banquet hall and fucking kill everybody, so that Lolorito, the obvious villain behind this plot, would end up being able to take power through that mass execution of his political rivals. I was hoping to see something really theatric and bombastic like that. But that was just like a personal desire. I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't think it should happen necessarily. But personally, just as the viewer, I was really hoping we'd see something grand like that. But when I looked back on it, because in the moment I was like, oh, she is getting poisoned after all. I was like, kind of disappointed by it, in a small way. Still appreciated it. They did it very well, and that made it all fine. But when I look back on it, the difference between that outward, theatrical, violent mass murder takeover, the difference between that's an outward, that's an explicit, open-faced expression of power. The monetarists are not brute force kind of guys and ladies. They seem to be politically operative. the entire way through. They operate through their dealings. So it makes so much more sense for them to have poisoned her, framed us, and then used that framing to destabilize everything in the state, where in that chaos they seize control. And by they, I mean he, because everybody else is not in on it. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. So I really do think that the fact that she was poisoned was not only well done, but I ultimately think it was the best choice they could have made. And it's rare that that happens, that I see something that's kind of, I don't want to say cliche, but I don't even want to say the word typical, but where the expected can feel kind of flat. It ended up really blooming there in the end, but it took me a minute to kind of see the connection that if there had been this massively violent takeover, it would have completely changed, because there would have been a clear villain. For all of this to have happened, the truth had to be concealed behind conspiracy, and conspiracies have to be done quietly. So, you know, even if we didn't know Lolorito was behind it at the time, the way it played out was so much better, because with the mysterious death, the dubious death of the Sultana, if she had just been killed, his rage would have been completely upfront, absolutely there. He would have been able to intervene, blah, 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 blah. It would have played out completely differently. The tone would have been completely different, and it really just would not have been as good. The fact that she was poisoned allowed us to have this deep, emotional detachment. And not for us to be detached, but every character then is now on their own, completely isolated, because there is no time for any two people to start coordinating with each other about, is this bullshit, is this not? Everyone in that moment is stop, freeze, you have to make a judgment call right the fuck now as this is playing out in front of you. That's powerful. That is what true chaos is. You have completely eradicated any confederacy of your opponents, because now every single one of them is having to make their own decision to how to react to the situation as it's being presented, and it's being presented as if Pelegi Adelegi is behind it, because he's an asshole who is going to take advantage of the opportunity to gloat about what a good thing this is for him. And I think it just played out so well. It fell just so perfectly into Lolorito's lap that it's almost like it was too perfect. But then you've also got to look at it as these kind of fictional narratives are the only time that you get to see things just fucking line up like that. Even if bad things are lining up like that, it's just wonderful to be able to see all the dominoes fall so perfectly in a row at times. I think they did that real well. And I was consistent with my criticism that everything they did up and through the banquet scene was it's just fucking great. They did such a good job with it. Really, the only letdown I had was everything that happened after it, unfortunately. The alleged deaths of the scions felt poorly executed. And if you ask Yiz and Rian, I have sent them the SparkNotes version of my alternate universe of what I would have done there. The only thing mine does differently is they're actually fucking dead. They're dead. They're like, there's no way they're getting out of that dead. There's no, well, even then, no. Even then, I think you could, you know, even then, no. What I sent does all the same shit. But no sins are committed. No big ones. A couple small sins. It's not perfect, but I did it 30 minutes in a shower. Okay? So that's why I was so disappointed. I wasn't, here's a cliche. I wasn't mad. I was just disappointed. You know? That's how I felt. I had such high hopes that it would pan out in a way that was satisfying, but the disappointment, like, I can suspend my disbelief. I'll get into it here in a minute, but this is what it is, guys. I'm going to talk about my thoughts as I'm going through it. I always feel like I need to move on because people are getting bored of it, but I also I don't give a shit. If you're bored, go. Because this is what the stream is. But I have an amount that I can suspend my disbelief, and I'm willing to. But there are certain things that are so fucking egregious, I can't miss them, and I can't bury them even if I'm trying. When those things happen, they pull me out of the immersion that allows me to suspend my disbelief. I'm willing to forgive all kinds of unbelievable shit if I'm immersed. even if I can come back later and say that was not very mechanically sound as far as how that was designed, but it gripped me. And that's valid, that's fine, because that's the difference between the mechanics and the art. What happens sometimes is when the mechanics feel so underdeveloped that then it takes me out of the emotional attachment I have. And as soon as I start getting drawn out of that, it's like waking up. You're not as excited about the dreams you had once you're out of them. And that's what happened there after the banquet scene, is that I was just repeatedly drawn out of my desire to be immersed in it, because my immersion is based on the thought process of the characters, the execution of their motivations and their character traits. I need to believe that the characters would make these decisions and that the characters' intelligence is being expressed well. When we have all of our very intelligent scions making some of the absolute worst possible decisions that they could make at every single turn, that takes me out of my immersion because it breaks their characterization to me. Hey Tyvox, can you bring me back some fries? That'd be good. And an unsweet tea. Fries and an unsweet tea sounds so good. Anyway, so that's everything I wanted to say. That's off my chest. That's all my last thoughts about the previous post patch, and I'm saying those during the Heavensward stream because none of that is actually resolved yet. That is all stuff that I expect to become resolved over the course of Heavensward. I think we're going to get answers to those questions. I think we're going to see a follow-up with the Scions. I think they're alive. I think we're going to see them again, especially even if only Menphelia. I expect to see her again. She has such an last thing. She has such an unresolved character arc. Okay, let me show you. Let me show you her character arc. In the way that characters develop is almost exactly the same as your plot structure. We are introduced to Menphelia. We see her going on throughout ARR, and she is developing her character. At this point, her character is challenged. This is the death of Moonbrita. And then her character reacts. She goes into a slump because she's criticizing herself. And at this point, the banquet happens. Okay? At this point, the banquet happens right there. This is where she's allegedly dead. So all of this resolution from the death of Moonbrita has not happened yet. She has not been able to redeem herself from this moment in her climax. At this point is not resolved. Her character is not finished developing yet. If they kill her, it's an egregious sin. Okay? They can't do it. You can't do it to me, please. So I strongly suspect she's alive in addition because of that. It just hit me. She's not done. She's not finished because her character isn't as flat as the other Scions. Most of the Scions, and I've said this before, their characters are pretty flat. They got 1 or 2 personality traits and that's fucking it. And they don't even change. They're static and flat. These are token characters. They don't do much except help move the plot along by being there. Good characters are not obstacles. They're not parameters of the story. Characters that are flat and static are just like you put a stake down in a pinball machine. They're the bumpers of the pinball machine. They don't move. They're just there. Things happen around them. Things hit them and bounce off. The protagonist is the pinball itself. Your really dynamic characters are the things that are like fucking moving around the board and they change shape and shit like that, if we're keeping up the analogy here. Your character should be moving and changing and not always. Flat characters are not bad characters. Static characters are not bad characters. But when they're so prominent in the story, we want to see them develop. If they're dead, they cannot develop anymore. And that's why death is supposed to be the be-all, end-all penalty for characters' traits, motivations, and actions, which is the basis of our character analysis. If they are dead, we cannot develop them anymore. I would love to see all of those characters get new, fresh development that builds on the flat and static background we know they have because of ARR. I would love for in Heavensward, if they're alive, we get an opportunity to then see them grow from that point forward. New challenges, new environment, new season, new characters, right? The downside of them still being alive is now we have existing characters on a roster that have to each have enough screen time and development to validate them being there, which means this is a volume of characterization that is being dedicated to them that cannot go to new characters. So it does reserve an amount of the character, the cast that we know is going to be saved for those scions at some point. So there are upsides and downsides to them living, but it doesn't mean it's good or bad. It does mean that no matter what happens, I'm still going to be upset at 2.55. That's not going to change. I'm sorry. It's just not. But mechanically, there's no reason for them to commit or not commit to them being dead, which I think was a mechanical choice they made, because I suspect at the time of the end of 2.55, they may not have been completely finished with Heavensward. I'm not sure what the timeline would have been, but I would suspect there's a version of our universe. It's very realistic, I think. In which, at the time of releasing 2.55, they simply weren't able to commit either way to the scions being dead or alive. That decision had not been made by the writers yet. So they left it deliberately ambiguous. Still think there were better ways to do it. However, it's another reason that it's a toss-up. And I can imagine, and maybe Yiz and Rian and anybody else who was around at the time, can tell me if there were all these conspiracy theories and like the team they're alive, team they're dead, arguing with each other back and forth about whether the scions would come back again. Because I think that's a great question. You know, whenever you have this grand death of a bunch of people, it's hard for them to stay dead a lot of times, because there's this stunning revelation as they spring back to life like phoenixes. It's a very familiar trope. And it doesn't, it's not bad writing to do. It's something you can only do once, though, and I've said this before. You can only cheat death one time. If you cheat death more than one time, we stop caring. And it also makes death cheap, which is its own trope. If you have the death is cheap trope, it means that there are no real consequences to your actions anymore, because you won't actually be killed, which is the only thing that really gives us suspense in a story of life and death, is when a character actually fucking dies and they're gone. Like Moon Burrito. If she comes back, I'm so mad. I want her back emotionally as the viewer, as the reader. I want Moon Burrito back. She was a great character. I'd love to see more of her. But as the analyst, if she comes back, I'm going to be very sad. Because she should be dead. Her death only means something if it's permanent, right? So when we flirt with death but cheat it, we're still alive. Okay. It's kind of the compromise between the two. It can happen. It's fine. But you can only do it once. You can't do it twice. The second time, we're going to be like, okay, really? Come fuck up. We've been through this. You never want to repeat content when you're writing. As much as you can, the same mechanic should not happen twice, because no matter what it is, good or bad, the second instance of it will never be as satisfying. Will never be as satisfying. And your goal as a writer is to create as much emotional payoff, catharsis, and satisfaction for your reader as possible. So if that becomes the only real factor motivating your writing, then you don't want to commit those sins. I call them sins. They are. So anyway, for real now, without any further ado, let's get into it. I do want to read what Yiz said. More or less, it was people bitching about their faves being dead, and the other side who were like, that's a cheap, shouldn't have happened, more or less. Oh no! People upset their faves are dead, yeah. It happens. That was largely the feeling I had, is I feel like they didn't get enough credit in their death, but they also shouldn't have died in the way they did, but we've been there. So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on Alpha now, and we're going to get on into Heavensward. Damn, dude. Whoa. 46,000 EXP. Wow. Very nice. How much is that? It's some. $800 too. 90 minutes later. Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. I'm going to take my time. Eat my ass. All of you. There we go. Voice acting.
The dawn's light will shine again.
Oh, he's a new voice actor. Please tell me his personality has changed too. I'm never going to disparage voice actors, being one myself, because that would be a faux pas and it would be shitty of me to do. But I will say that a lot of Alfino's lines in ARR were read in the voice of a villain. It had all of the hallmarks of a villain being read, you know, and it's the difference between, you know, the dawn's light will shine again, you know, something like that, versus the dawn's light will shine again. There's a difference in that intonation. And there are intonations that sound like a villain, and Alphino was constantly sounding like a villain. Yeah. I'm sad to find out that I think Gideon Emery is not voicing the man. I can never remember his name any time at all. Tall green bean boy who got squished by Moon Burrito. What does it even start with? Fuck's sake. Urianger. I got it. Fuck you, chat. I beat you. Urianger. Yeah. Urianger. Yeah, that's right. No, Fern got it. That's right. Sorry, I didn't ooh it. Yeah, Gideon Emery is one of my favorite voice actors. I aspire to have his level of recognition someday. He was one that inspired me to even get into the business. There we go. Yeah, I've heard this before. There was a contractual dispute with the first troupe. Yeah. They were fighting for exclusive rights for job security, which is understandable. And then Square dropped all of them. So, yeah, they wanted to be able to add more. It's a traditional battle with voice actors wishing they had more job security and developers wanting what they want, which, I mean, nobody's necessarily wrong there. It just didn't work out by the sound of it, you know. Unlike what Konami did to Kojima, that was not understandable at all. All right.
So long as we have these specious accusations hanging over us, we will struggle to achieve anything.
Okay. I love this voice. So, Fern, you'll know what I mean when I say, I think, maybe you will, I don't know. It might be fucking gibberish to 90% of you. The same way that Nia in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, there's a characteristic of their voice that is, they have like a softer valve between their mouth and their nose. Or there's a softness in that area, that when they talk, they're talking half through their nose, half through their mouth, that distribution, where usually you're trying to have like maybe under 25% through your nose, that distribution of airflow. But because they're pushing more air through their nose, they're not necessarily being nasally, but it slightly closes up the passage a little bit. Not in that when you stop it up here, but that it stifles the air going through the nose without stifling the air going through the mouth. And it creates a very specific kind of sound that is soft and round. And I love it for Alphino. I think that's great. The Welsh cat girl voice. I would love that for Alphino as well. But yeah, but I was noticing that, and I think Mio has a lot of the same stuff, but it's a softness that comes specifically from that anatomical structure inside their mouth. I hear that in his voice, and I really like it. I think they've casted him well here. He sounds younger, too. He sounds younger to me, so this is good. I like this.
You must go to Ishgard, as Tataru proposed. I will return to Uldar and set things right. It's,
God. The only way I could describe it is like when you have that trumpet, you put that little plug over the front of it when you're that's happening inside his mouth, or right at the back of his throat, a little bit higher. That's what's happening. None of you care about this, but it's none of you care. I know, but I can't not say it. These are things I think about. I think he sounds like a teenager too. Whoever the voice actor is, they sound like a teenager, which is not easy to do. So this is a good performance so far. I like the voice. Not that the previous one was bad. It's just this one sounds good. Give me Tataru voice actor, please.
Pray, do not be so hasty, Master Alphino.
Same voice actor, right?
Lord Orchiffon.
Yeah, I like him. I like this voice actor a lot. Damn, we look good.
Full well do I understand your desire to clear your names. But now is not the time for drastic action. You yet have allies upon whom you can rely. There is no need to act alone.
Do you see... he's putting a lot of emphasis on certain words, and this is not going to be me critiquing voice acting the whole time. But I do want to talk about the characterization of their vocalization, because it does influence their character traits. It influences their personality. This is valid. When you're just reading a story, you don't get to hear the intonation. It's something you have to provide. Sometimes it is... sometimes the writing can be written deliberately with a certain rhythm. Their tone can be suggested by the narrator or the author putting in a description of their intonation, such as saying that they spoke with an upward inflection, something like that. You're going to be able to hear that. They spoke with a vocal fry, like a upward inflection and a vocal fry is going to be someone from, the center of California, Valley Girl. Here we go. The new VAs have absurd range. Well, good. I would hope so. Any professional VA who's qualified to work in a Final Fantasy game in this day and age has got to be pretty fucking good. There is an amount of ability you would have to be able to demonstrate through probably multiple audition phases, almost certainly, to be able to land that job. And it would run the gamut of what this character is going to do. I need to try it before I buy it. That's what auditions are for. So I know right now, anybody we hear, beautiful. I have no doubts about it. I didn't think any of the voice acting in ARR was bad. I didn't. I know that it kind of has a reputation. Some of the lines were a little iffy, but those were just individual lines. I don't think any of those voice actors did anything short of a great job overall. Here we go. See Timothy Watson and Endwalker, who voiced everyone. Yeah, it's wow. That's something I feel like I need to learn a lot about personally, is I don't know how to sound like different people necessarily. I could not do two different characters and you not recognize me as both of them. Let me put it that way. You would know I was both of them. You'd be able to recognize that. Even if it did sound different, you'd be like, oh, that's him. That's Mico. I know him. Was it bad? No, this is just better. I agree. And here's the thing. If you ever look at like your favorite voice actor and you're like, I fucking love that guy or that whoever, understand that everything you hear in the final production is the teamwork of 4 people. Primarily, the person who wrote the words that are being said, the voice actor who gives them a voice, the audio engineer that makes it good, that adds the sound effects, equalizes it, sometimes compensates for errors in the vocal delivery. They do a big role in making sure that audio is clean, consistent, and set to standards that need to be there. And then the casting director, the director is the one who is actually playing the voice actor like an instrument. That's the relationship between these 4 people who actually allow this to arrive at this point. You cannot credit just the voice actor. In fact, they are out of all those people, they probably have the least work to do. Everyone else is having to make really big decisions. A voice actor's job is to take a shot. This is what I think you want. And then you tell me it's not. This is what you want to change. I try again until it's good enough. Voice acting is one of those things where I'm fucking guessing until you tell me it's good enough. I'm like, maybe that's what you want. A lot of the time we're guessing. We're just fucking guessing. Good voice actors are the people who are consistently able to make really good guesses. And then everyone else is guessing, and then director's like, no, try again. Do this. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll just say, give me 3. Try it 3 different ways. And it's kind of like a shotgun spray. Something's going to hit, right? Something's got to hit, and they'll be like, I like the first half of 1. I like the intonation of 2, and then you figure out how to mix them. And it's this calibration process. The voice actor is just like the dog in a dog show. They're the ones getting rated most of the time, but they're not the ones who did all the work. It's the trainer. They're the ones that are really doing all the work and getting that dog to do those things. So that is the relationship between those things for all of you who don't have an appreciation of the family of people that make these lines the way they are. So good or bad voice acting is not solely on the burden of the actor, though they often get all of the credit one way or the other. So anyway, if you ever hear me doing bad voice acting, just blame the director, because they said yes. Because whatever you hear, they said yes to. Anyway, that's my soapbox. But he's okay. So let's analyze. He has a lot of inflection. He has a lot of variance in his tone as he's going through, especially when he does his reading. You know, the very high pitch on drastic and to emphasize it and to come in. But the fact that he's reading this in a tone, a narrative tone in the linguistic sense. He's reading this in a tone that is playful. It's playful, disarming. He's not being overly serious, which is a big part of his character. He is disarming because he isn't morose about even serious things. He can be very serious, but he still delivers things in a light manner. And that's something I really like about Oishifan. I really like this about his character. And it's one of the reasons that before I knew the second part of those cutscenes, I had a strong suspicion, and this is actually what I was telling Yiz and Rian. I had a strong suspicion, and in my alternate writing after the first set of cutscenes, I had us going to him anyway. So it was so nice to see that we ended up here, because I was like, yes, I picked it right. You know, it felt very satisfying, because there's nobody in Eorzea I would trust more than this man to protect me if I was running from the law. Partly because he lives in Kurthus, but also because there's nobody else in Kurthus who would even remotely make sense for us to go to in a time of need. It's him. Who else? Little shining off of his forehead. He's so fucking cute. I love this man. His third husband.
Yes. Yes, of course. Pray forgive my impatience.
He sounds... Okay, I need to know, did this voice actor play... not Lamont. Lamont from Final Fantasy XII. He sounds like the voice actor. The same voice as Lamont. I cannot remember his actual name. Vane's brother. Vane's younger brother in Final Fantasy XII. I cannot remember his name. And him. Could always chat up Emmerich? Oh, yeah. I'd love to. Yeah, it sounds like him. Larsa, that's it. Thank you, Fern. Yeah, Larsa. It sounds a lot like Larsa. Who also had that nose thing, by the way. That nasal stifle. I think that's what it's called, but I'm probably wrong. Yeah, Final Fantasy tends to call on the same voice actors frequently. And for good reason. Once you find a good voice actor, you know how to work with them, you build that relationship. That's how you make it as a VA, is you build relationships with these directors, and you start to work very well together, and they just know they can rely on you to do certain things, and they don't even have auditions. Sometimes they just cast you. And I mean, that's amen. God help me, that's the dream. It is not Larsa's VA. He sounds very much like him. Okay.
I bring tidings. Count Edmont has decreed that the three of you be taken in as wards of House Fortan. Under our patronage, you shall be granted access to the city proper. Pray, consider our manor your new headquarters, from which you may gather information and plan how best to proceed.
Do you know what's happened to all of our other headquarters? Are you sure you want that designation? Bad things happen to everyone who has been ever called our headquarters.
Needless to say, should any of your missing allies be found, as I am certain they shall, they will of course be welcome to join you there.
They're alive. They're alive. We've just gotten as close to literally confirmation as we can possibly get. They have foreshadowed the return of the Scions. Called it! Regardless, I'm glad to have an answer there. It wouldn't have been agonizing to not know. But it still would have just been floating in the back of my head until we did finally get some kind of answer to it. I'm very thankful, just as the analyst, that we're getting an answer so close. Yes, they're going to come back. It's just a matter of time until we find them again. So there we go. Finally got an answer. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad they're not dead. I do ultimately like to see characters get developed. having an underdeveloped character die is always going to be a little bit deflating, because then you know for sure they're never going to get that development they deserved. Now we're going to have a big opportunity to see them flourish in a new environment and a new narrative that is not as rushed as the development of ARR had to be, given what was happening with the dev team at the time, what was happening with the game at the time. We now have a situation where all of Heavensward is, as far as I can tell, the first time that they were able to just sit down, breathe, and do their fucking job, and not have to sprint the entire time doing it, just making quick decisions and go, which as I understand very much was the environment. Now it seems like they've had room to breathe, room to execute on so much more than they did with ARR. So I'm hoping to see a tighter, better developed narrative. I expect every expansion to be a tighter, better developed narrative than the one before it. They're getting more practice, they're adding new resources, they're able to build upon existing lore and previous history of the game that allows them to continue advancing certain things, adding new threads, etc., etc. The cast of characters should be expanding and sometimes shrinking, and all those changes will have impacts on the future of the story. It can become very easy to extend from previous work in that way. So starting from nothing is the hardest thing to write with. Once you have an established lore, you find that you have a whole lot more to work with, especially if you've been kind of planting seeds in the previous expansions, which I would hope that they're doing. They'll leave some threads open. They're not plot holes, but they're open threads, things that we haven't really tugged on yet, but we know they're there. And later we can come back and be like, you remember that thing? Here it is. You know, we're going to see that. Okay, anyway.
You are more than generous, my friend. On behalf of my fellows, I humbly accept your offer of hospitality.
The Count is a good man and just. He will treat you with the kindness and respect that a hero and dear friend deserves.
God, we're cute.
To Ishgard, then. Together. There we shall carry on the Scion's legacy. There we shall begin anew.
Here!
Tataru voice acting. We got 2 words. I'm a satisfied man. Very happy. All right. For those of you who are all watching for the first time, it's not going to be that sluggish through the entire thing, but there's a lot to talk about here at the beginning. All right. I must go on ahead and speak with the Count. Fear not, however, for everything has been arranged. I'm also not voice acting the whole thing. That would be exhausting, and I only voice act for pay. Ugh. All right. The sentries at the gates of judgment have been informed of our decision. You need but state your names, and they will allow you to pass. My manservant shall be waiting for you at the city gates. I need not say it. We're all on the same page with that word. Ready to escort you to our manor, where we shall meet again. Until then. He'd probably say it like, until then. He sounds like Papalimo, but not a goblin. Here we go. Oh, Sprig Boy, don't drop your... We're going to go on a long walk here. Don't drop your rock, because we can't come back for it if you do. Okay. Nope, not the Wandering Minstrel. I kind of want to abandon this and go do it again. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Let's go ahead and abandon that one. I am off to the Steps of Faith. I have long wanted to cross this bridge, but been unable. I think we got to do one event here, the big dragon trial that we have that runs along this. I'm pretty sure that's all we've done over there. I've wanted to fully cross it, but I understood that that was Ishgard, so that probably wasn't going to happen. All right. I'm guessing horse. Fuck yeah. The best horse. Okay, well, off we go. I'm so excited to have MSQ to go through again. It's been so long since I have. I'm going to fly over you. Oh, no. I won't do it. Oh, I think I see you. Very cute. Oh. I love when y'all do this. This is always so sweet. How long have you been waiting here for me to get through my shit? Hello, Mr. Clovershoe. That's some great gear. Hold on, I gotta pay my simp tax. There we go. Hey, Umbreon, nice, dude. You're looking nice. Nice midriff. Star of the Demon, Beaks of Vortex, Seeking Horde, Handgun. Oh, interesting. These are I hope these are glams. I don't want to be, you know, fucking taking gear from people. Let's try it on. Yo, nice gun. That looks good. Is that a book? What is that? Oh, it looks like an ammo case, but that's interesting. It's got a pressure valve on it. What is Star of the Demon? Oh, interesting. Is this for Dark Knight? That's a hell of a plate, my friend. Very nice. These are cool glams. Are they functional? Oh, yeah. Oh, it's Astrologian. I thought it was for Dark Knight, but I was like, that's a weird looking sword. I see. This is my card deck. I see. We're playing Yu-Gi-Oh now. Hell yeah. Draw the weapon? Oh shit, yeah, I should do that. I keep forgetting I can. Nope, not you. Put that back. Oh my god, where is the... There we go. Oh, nice. Oh, it's an astrolabe. Ah. Oh, that's really cool. I do wish he had his card deck on his arm there, like straight up fucking Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, this is cool. It's unlikely I'll be playing Astrologian because it didn't win the poll. It was actually fairly low. If I were to play healer, that would be it though. If there was some reason for me to level a healer, that would be it. God, what was the other thing? Speak of the Vortex. Let's try this on. Oh, interesting. Nice. Oh, I love the feather effect. Is this Garuda's? This looks like it would be from Garuda. Garuda. There we go. Dark Knight gets two-handed swords. Hell yeah. But this looks great. Thank you, Mr. Funko Boy. Appreciate that. Let's see. What is this? Level 50. It's not as great as the one I'm using, but it does look cool. So I think we're going to put it on as a glam. I'll put these in my dresser. Put these in my dresser for sure. Well, these two are going to be level 60. I'll probably end up using those. We'll have to see. We'll have to see once I get to 60. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. There we go. Oh, you made these? I thought you just went off and bought them from like the market board or something, just making sure I get some glams. You crafted these. You went through all the effort to craft these for me. That's very sweet, my friend. Hello. Plant, you're so cute. With the fucking bonk stick. I'm just gonna dote from a distance because as established, if I tried to glomp you, I would be fucking killed on the spot. Hello, Umbreon. I'm loving the tum-tum there. What's not to love? About a bit of dragon navel. Very good. And then there's Blataku. Looking, I really do. Oh God, I love that chest piece. This is a mix of like a tuxedo and I'm gonna examine him. I'm gonna look real closely. Ooh. I mean, he looks literally good in anything. Anything you put this boy on, he looks good in. Like that's a good color too, just the black. Let's see. Oh, damn. Oh, they all look good. God damn, they all look good. Not a wine red. If I get like a really, I don't want like a wine red. That's not bad. A little bit lighter than wine red would be good. I'd love a color picker. Let me pick my color. Nothing in the oranges. It's not his color. Maybe oh, you know what? Maybe a yellow, maybe a tan would be good. He does have the peanut butter hair. If we give him like a peanut colored. Ooh, see, that's not bad. It brings out his highlights. A little bit of the, not quite bronze. Bronze. Yeah, it's a bronze color. It's also the color of the goat. Nice. Augmented Shire as the Heavensward in-game best in slot like Ironworks was. Oh, good, Funkle. That'll probably be what I end up wearing, but I can use this stuff as glam. You know, that's not bad either. The fact that the sleeves stay blue, though, becomes very important to the colorization of the rest of it. Like, you've got to harmonize those colors. Also, we're going to be interweaving our fashion and our raid nights throughout the entire season, as opposed to just doing one and then doing one. As we didn't plan on it, but that's just kind of how things unfolded. God, the yellow and this muted gold, this sort of white gold. God, beautiful. That's a great combo there as well. It's a great combo. It's not bad either. It's a little too colorful. More neutral colors are going to work really well here. Yeah, that's good. That's a really good earthy tone that goes with that blue. Let's check out the greens. I'm wearing this armor at some point. It has to happen. This is so good. Shire Pathfinder's armor. Is this? Yeah, augmented Shire. Yeah, damn, dude. This is looking good. We're going to have a hell of a... This is a formal glam for sure. We're going to have a hell of an endgame in Dragoon. Ooh, some of these. Oh, that's nice. Dude, that is sharp. That's a great color combo. That's not bad. I think Silver's choice of that blue is also fantastic. That's a good combo. Ooh, that's sharp too. Oh. Eh. Oh, that one's kind of good too. It's got to work with those sleeves. It just has to. Fuck, that's nice. Is this the... No, I'm surprised he didn't go for the ink blue. It's not bad. It's almost a little bit too much like the sleeves. You want to have a little bit of contrast there so both those things can be accented. Yeah, I mean, that looks great. What a good choice, Silver. Yeah, looking at all the options, you did a great job with that. I think this one also looks good for a lighter option. This is the silk, the blue silk that we've had. Here we go. Marble green is OP as fuck. Let me go look at Marble Green if I can find it again. I'm gonna go see which one. Marble Green. Yeah, this one's great. This one looks good too. It's blue enough that this makes sense with it, but it's also green enough to have its own character. It's kind of hard to pull off a midnight blue in this kind of very dark turquoise. It's hard to pull it off, but I think this does it. Because of the black accent on the armor is why I think it really works. I love the contrast of the gold there on the black turtleneck. Just fantastic. Let's see Deepwood. Is that your go-to? God, this one's sharp too. Nafika green. That's also good too. It's a little bit duller than this one. Despite being lighter, this one ends up being, despite Nafika being, yeah, they're all good. I'm terrified to look at the purples. It's a little off. That one's a little off. It's not, it's too dark. I mean, you'll never be able to have pink anything and it not just be a meme. Because bright pink like that is always just going to be a meme. I think you could pull off this one, the Regal Purple. Well, let's take a look at the... Wow. Wow. That's interesting. Let's take a look at the... Just for the sake of seeing them. That's not bad. Not my favorite, though. These are the pay-to-win dyes, right? That one's sharp. That's a good one right there. This looks like the same color as Panda's set, I think. Oh, that one's nice. I mean, I really like the high shine on these. You can get them from other ways. Nice. I think the lighter colors work. It just depends on the color itself. But I think some of the lighter ones we've seen have been really good. Like, I think that's very successful. It feels Kingdom Hearts. It feels very much like the design you'd see on the Nobodies with all the trim. It seems almost like the Nobody armor. It's actually pretty nice. It's beautiful. The blue is so good. The little bit of blue that's in there, I think gives it such character. I like neutral tones. I like the grays, the mid-tones. I love grays. But man, having just a very dark actual pigment can be so valuable as well. I think silver just looks fucking good, dude. Just looks fucking nice. Yeah, it looks good. Anyway, hey, let's go play the video game. Oh, there you go. Nice. I like that. It's very Robin Hood. But I'm gonna guess that's what you were going for. Nice earrings, bitch. I didn't even realize you had a face tattoo before. I've never really looked at you that close. Oh yeah, nice helmet. I do like the helmet. I think that it would be one of the only helmets that don't work as a Vieira. Why don't my ears flop in the wind like that does? I'm angry. Oh, they do. I never noticed this. They're stiffer than his headdress there. There we go. The helmet's from another set. I'm kind of glad about that because it feels like it doesn't go with the main set. Not that it doesn't work, but that it just looks like from another set. It has ear cups. I'm so angry. How come this man gets ear cups? Wards of House Forton. Ah, yes, you may pass. Thanks, Don. If your ears don't flop for more than 4 hours, consult your doctor. I'd be fucking dead. An hour of no floppy ears and I'd be done. Oh.
And so they came, at a friend's behest.
Great facial animation. Oh, Tadaru.
Heroes once celebrated as saviors of Eorzea, brought low through treachery, their names blackened with royal blood. With memories of the lost and dreams of redemption, with hope yet in their hearts, they came.
Wow, is this our city?
To Ishgard, shining city on the mount, overlooking the dominion of Kurthus.
So wrecked.
A great and proud nation, devoted to Halone, the Fury, ruled by Thordan VII, Archbishop of the Ishgardian Orthodox Church.
That's an important word, Orthodox.
The last bastion of the faith, her walls ever bristling with the sworn swords and spears of her 4 high houses.
Political good.
A land that after 1,000 years of war had forgotten what it was to be at peace.
New facial animations. This is good.
Through gates long closed, the warrior of light and his companions passed, entering at last a city whose history was written in blood. In the midst of the Dragonsong War they came, 3 weary travelers whose arrival would set in motion great change. Though none knew then how great.
Great foreshadowing. From the memoirs of Count Edmund de Forton. Interesting. It's interesting they said that. That this is told as a memoir. Yeah, remember you can thank Hildebrand. I was about to say, I didn't want to interrupt the cutscene too much. I was about to say, thank you, Hildy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Heavensward. I am the Mico, and this is my gaggle of sluts, and we're gonna have a good time going through this. Thanks for the very long preamble. You guys are incredibly patient. I appreciate you. It's good to see everybody. Man, these always get me so excited seeing you guys waiting at these moments. It's how I know real shit's about to happen. Shall we? At some point. You know what, Panda? At some point, we're going to have to go do Tier 13 again, both as Dragoons, both at the same level, both at the same gear score. And then, finally, we can know just how better I am than you are. Everyone, you're looking great. The glams you put together are fucking fantastic. Look at that. Woo! That's my future, I imagine. Look at this. What a great glam. Is this one we put together? I don't think so, Fern. This looks great. I love the coloration. You brought the red down from the goggles and the earrings into your jacket and your holster. You did a great job with this one. Is that a red little ribbon? It's an orange ribbon, but hey, it can't be perfect, right? Very good. Then there's the cat bitch. Oh, best friend cat. Oh, very cute as well. I haven't seen these glams. And then there's a wall of steel. Fucking panda. He can't even see. He himself is just the rook from the chessboard in steel. Is this Dark Knight shit? Nice. What a great sword. Look at that. Is that a relic? That's got to be a relic. There we go. You threw it together while I was monologuing. You did a damn good job. Dude, there we go. Nice. There's an Umbreon. Nice. Also, Dark Knight. I recognize that. Looking very... You also look like you came right out of Final Fantasy 15. All right. Blatakun. With this set, this is a wonderful set. I've seen this before, but this just looks fantastic. Great gun. Look at that. It's got a sword on it. I love the gun blades. That's a Final Fantasy thing for sure. Yeah, it looked good. Ole. And then there's Dalson Clovershoe, Mr. Funkle himself. And what I can imagine is another Dark Knight set. Looking great. I'm really looking forward to the armor options. I like that Bun Boy can never again wear a helmet because it's the branding of his face. We have to keep it uncovered. But at the same time, man, it would be cool to see these full sets on the body. Ah, great. Well, welcome everybody. I'm gonna go do this. Look how cute Alphino is, by the way. Fucking adorable. We picked up these parka coats on our way in somehow. Yeah. Starting in Heavensward, the glam options get absolutely amazing. I've seen bits of that. Fern is definitely big on the glams, and seeing a little bit of what's in her closet has made me just like, oh, can't wait. All right, we must talk to Tataru, purest of children. Gods, I feel like a child in a giant's castle. For anybody else who's new, we read all Lalafell as if they were fucking goblins. Because it is canon that they are, thanks to Papa Limo. There we go. Nice, Tavax, welcome back. That's the sword from Mamu? Nice. There we go. All right, good deal. Let's do it. Greetings, Master Bjeren-Setlas. On behalf of House Fortam, I bid you welcome to Ishgard. My lord humbly requests your presence at his residence in the Pillars. If you all would come with me. From this point forward, I'm going to be in the middle of cutscenes, and I'm just going to be doused in flames the whole time. There we go. Beautiful. Let me go get the Aetherite before I forget, inevitably. Inevitably. Very exciting to be attuning a new thing. There we go. Nice. We are the best dressed in the Aetherite outside of Wood Clan itself. Skywatcher, I'm just going to go... I feel like I should go explore for a minute. This is wonderful. I want to peek around at some of the damage. Because we know that the city is getting pelted by dragons fucking constantly. I want to go around and see some of the destruction. I know that in ARR, a lot of the cities were still. There didn't seem to be a whole lot of movement going on. People were kind of stood where they were stood. Maybe some people walked around a little bit, but the environment felt more of a prop than a living, breathing thing. And what I'm hoping to see throughout this city is that we see a little bit more investment in convincing the audience or the reader that this is a real living, breathing place. I want to see movement. I want to see the biggest thing. I want to see stories happening outside of me, but that I can stumble upon them and see that there are narratives happening in the environment around me. That's what convinces people that what they're looking at is a living, breathing thing. It's immersive. It's what we mean when we say immersive. There are reasons to believe that this could be in the real world if our real world had the same narrative rules, being a fantasy setting. Dragons exist, stuff like that. We could see this happening. we would believe we were in a real place. That's where that notion comes from. Okay. I'm going every wrong way, mostly on purpose, because I'm going to go see if I can find other Aetheryte crystals. I probably should do this. Go hunt them down, because, I mean, it's going to be nice if I have these unlocked anyway at the very beginning, but it gives us an opportunity to go see the environment. We have who look like some civilians, wounded soldiers. I don't think there is such thing as a non-combatant civilian in this society. I think man or woman, I think all of them are either children. Whoa. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. This is what fuck you, kid. This is the, that is amazing. That is amazing. Now, listen, I was going to praise the fact that these kids were throwing snowballs because this is a story. But then they turn and throw them at the protagonist. Fucking great. This is fantastic. This is great, little assholes. This is great. I mean, just the fact that they were throwing snowballs at each other, that was impressive, but then they turn and do it to you. Great. I mean, imagine if he was just sitting here, though, like this guy is, but when you got near, he would look at you and start doing this, you know? That'd be even better. Like, maybe this guy will. Fuck it, I don't know, you know? Very interesting. Very interesting. And this is the kind of stuff I was hoping to see. Not even that well. I was just hoping to see even like the implication of that sort of thing. Very good. So far, I'm very impressed. So far, I'm very impressed. This is fantastic. What are you wearing now, you chronic redresser? Oh, interesting. Wow. That is a really beautiful set. I would not want the helmet, though. But everything else about that, the poofy pants and sleeves, that's just great. You definitely look like a military officer. It's a great plan. It's a great plan. You know, there needs to be a story in every little thing. Like, the devs need to have, not that they didn't, but to do this well, they need to have thought about. We've specifically gone in and carved out that bit of stone, right? This is something that they had to deliberately put in the game. They had to put this there. They had to put that scaffolding there. And if environment and level designers are very thoughtful and doing their jobs very well, what we see is that every change has a reason for it. It is itself the result of history that has to be written by that level designer to some extent. The existence of this fall away means that at some point, something caused this to fall away. That becomes a canonical event. It's not something we're going to see in dialogue where they're going to take us on a tour and be like, yes, this part of the sidewalk that got fucked was because this one dragon came and collapsed into it, and it fell away. No one's going to tell me that. But our imagination may be given an opportunity to start filling in the gaps of these little questions that are meant to be asked. This is why environment designers, why is this gone but didn't put a deeper hole? Was there like a light crash from a dragon who was wounded by one of these spikes? Like, when you play games, if you're just running to the objective, you're going to miss these little things. So I always want to encourage people, because this is what I look at, and this is what makes games so fun to me, is it can get immersed into the world. There is a story in the very stones around you. It's not just what's in the narrative, it is the atmosphere of the streets you walk. And if done well, they invite you to invest emotionally into what's going on. This is one of your first impressions of what you're dealing with. The scale of the city should be a metaphor for the scale of the problems we're going to have to solve, the scale of the stakes of what we're dealing with here. You should see all those things. And I think it definitely improves the experience if you're somebody that does stop and smell the roses. So I want to encourage you guys to do that. If you don't already, really stop. I will always tell people there's only one first playthrough. There's only one time that you can see something for the first time. Make it good. Make it good for yourself. Invest in that first experience. Slow the fuck down. Smell the roses. Because they're good. They're real good. If the game is good, if the writers and the level designers and everybody on the team has done their job, this will be a wonderful experience, and I have every faith that it will be. I just want to get an idea of kind of the lay of the land. I still can't navigate Gridania or Ul'dah, for that matter, worth a damn. but I want to be able to know a little bit about where things are here. Yeah, I think I am going to slow down on first clears of dungeons, Funkle, because what we had done before in ARR was shout out to Chronica Alpha of our sister Ubu clan. There we go. Ah, very nice. A blue quest, which I'm going to ignore. Okay. For the ARR, what we were doing is I wanted to get the full mapping achievement, so I wanted to go everywhere in the dungeon in the sense that that would show me everything, but realistically, we were still going so quick. Not that it was a problem, but we were going so quick that I never really have, even now, I don't think I've gone back and just kind of explored. Oh, not going through there. That's like a danger. It's a danger line. This reminds me of Britain or North European, especially French. I know there's going to be probably because Kurthus itself seems to be deeply steeped in a French culture, and I've been warned that there's a lot of French names in this, so I'm imagining this is really taken after a fantasy medieval France. High fantasy medieval France, which, oh, danger line. Hold on, let me check my map again. We've got that one, we got that one, we got that one. I'm pretty... Yeah, we got that one. Okay, so I do need to go to the pillars. Time for the spooky transition. This looks like the layout of Gridania, actually. You've got the south and the north half. The shape looks similar. Okay, and then we've got these four. It's a nice little symmetrical structure, just about. Different themes for the lower and upper sections. Very nice. More peaceful up here. By the... Look at that. Wow. Anybody who knows me when I've like built in Minecraft or anywhere else, and I know this is just because I happen to be here at this time of the day, but I feel real fucking lucky that I got the sun down over the back of those buildings. I thought it was deliberate for a second. Fucking incredible. That was breathtaking there for that moment, but just getting to see the sun go down and all the light rays come out. The skyline here is beautiful. It's not as intimidating as the rest of the city was. We have a real altitude here. There's a distance from the rest of the world that happens here, a wistfulness almost. This feels so isolated from the threats of the areas below. Narratively, it's very important that we have the separation of these zones because it shows kind of a dichotomy between what's happening maybe for the wealthy versus what's happening for the soldiers on the front line near the front gate. It's very interesting that we're seeing the difference here because we should start seeing anytime, and the reason I said that is very important that the ruling group was referred to as the Orthodoxy. They were described as being Orthodox. The reason that's important is because that has connotations of being severe in the sense that it is typically very controlling, very strict. Those are some connotations of any orthodoxy, and especially a religious orthodoxy. It just has those connotations. What we also see with those things is often a difference between, and a fairly large distance between the haves and the have-nots, the privileges of those who are seen as in the good graces of that orthodoxy and those who are not. We see a whole lot of hypocrisy in that. What they will claim is a meritocracy, that your actions have consequences, the purity of your soul leads to the outcome in your life, a sort of puritanical view. What we'll see is, very likely, is we'll see hypocrisy of people who are outwardly presenting their adherence to the orthodoxy are themselves actually the furthest from it. And often it's the devout who are suffering. And that the suffering may be one of the central tenets of that culture, that religious culture. I would expect to see those things based on the connotations of some of the naming conventions they've used. I would expect to see that. It's also pretty common in Japanese writing for any religious figurehead to be seen as not evil, but inherently corrupt. There's a difference between those things. That there is an innate hypocrisy or corruption to religious leadership is a very common theme in Japanese writing. So I would be quite confident to say that that's what we're going to experience. I wouldn't be surprised if the actual, not the actual big bad, but the big presented enemy near the end of this expansion. I would not be surprised if it was the Holy See itself. I think controlled by the by the Ascians, who are working in the shadow based on the last cutscenes post-credits of ARR. I would expect to see that, just because if we're following kind of typical narrative beats, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we see. It's not good or bad, it's just what I would anticipate. The lights coming on are beautiful. I really love the designs of these buildings. We have not had a clearly European setting. This is clearly based on something in Europe, even if it isn't directly French. It could be far eastern France, near its German and Central European neighbors kind of bleeding over, because it wasn't like you had France, here's the border, and then over here is a completely separate set of architecture. Especially back in the medieval era, architecture was really bleeding across borders in a lot of ways, because things were more locally organized than saying, once you get to the French border, we do things differently here. You know, it's not really how that worked. So we are going to probably see a blending of architectural styles from real world historical elements. Wouldn't be surprised, but it is just really nice to be in an open, more conventional city layout. Ul'dah is a very closed in, everything is an alley kind of structure, really cloistered. We have Limsa Lominsa that is so vertical that it is made up almost of a series of platforms, and all the buildings are inside. All the walkways are outside, and there aren't really streets. Everything is bridges and bridges and canals. At most, it may be seen as Venetian, but even then, only because it's built on the water and it's such a thin comparison there architecturally. Maybe Greek. I think it would be Greek. Greco-Venetian, you know, if you want to call it that. And then you have Gridania, which is like... It is probably the closest to being laid out like a city, but it is so... there are not independent structures in Gridania. Everything is built into the hills. Everything is built into the woodland. There really isn't a designated street that is then having an alleyway on the other side of a building. We don't have conventional city layouts in any of the 3 city-states. So it is really nice to come back to something that I would consider far more familiar. And it's just beautifully designed. It reminds me a lot of Anor Londo, not in a bad way at all. It reminds me of what I wanted from Demon Souls, which was to be able to walk around more of Boletaria. And I think even more, I mean, that view right there reminds me very much of the first time you go into Anor Londo in Dark Souls 1, and you're carried over that wall from Sin's Fortress, and as you get up there, you get this breathtaking panoramic of Anor Londo. And it's these very vertical, tall spires of windows just like this, and it's just beautiful. It's an excellent aesthetic that I think they've pulled off very well here. I love the paved streets. Everything here is so geometric. It's very geometric. It's very much based on patterns. There isn't a lot of organic design here. This is still and organic doesn't have to mean round. Organic means it isn't necessarily based on an established and clear pattern. Organic is a sort of natural chaos. What we see here is, even though it's rounded, it's curved, it is still entirely geometric. Everything here is based on mathematical rules and shapes. Everything here is something that could be expanded upon as a pattern. We have we have a flannel pattern here in the streets. There's very little that seems to be truly organic here. Everything is measured. Everything is working to be... people who have seen me build in Minecraft, actually, I have geometric units. Things seem to be built on a kind of grid or a geometric pattern that's established. I'm seeing a lot of like sets of 3, like in here. Everything is very vertical, but everything is also very symmetrical, and things are very geometric. And I like that. It's such a change. Almost every... I mean, Ul'dah was very geometric in that sense as well, that everything seemed to be very based in shape before function. Gridania is haphazard and truly organic, and whatever the fuck happens, happens. Limsa Lominsa seems to be kind of a blend of the two, but Ul'dah, you don't really get to appreciate the geometry of it because everything feels a little bit samey. There is a color palette being played here. We've got the almost salmon. I mean, during the daytime, this might even be like a very muted salmon. We've got an almost green up here. Well, definitely a green. We've got some blue in these tiles, the yellow of the lights, which during the day would be yellow again. I'm imagining we're going to get some blues in here along with all the mid-tone grays. We have accent colors. We've got the red that sticks out to me a lot because it is such high contrast. because it's so saturated compared to everything else. I mean, I just love this. I'm big into environment design. As you can see here, it's something I think about a lot in my own games because there is a lot of characterization that happens. It's more than just setting a mood or suggesting an atmosphere. It really can tell you a lot about the narrative themes, if it's done well, and I have to believe it is. So the connection there to the narrative themes is that I think we're going to see such a central focus on order, organization, homogeny. We're going to see these things play out as some central themes. The culture here seems that it is going to be very streamlined. It is going to resemble, I think, a lot of Japanese culture, Japanese societal culture, not necessarily social culture as much, although really, no, it will. I think this is going to really harken back to, it looks like a medieval France, a high fantasy medieval France, but I think it's going to feel like a very modern Japan, traditional modern Japan. In the sense that I think the society is going to be, as we see, very xenophobic, isolationist, which is a big part of Japanese history. We see that there is a big desire for self-determination. There's a big desire for self-organization. There's a big desire for we will handle it ourselves. Our resources come from within our borders. The reason that even though they have been struggling and not necessarily winning their fight for over 1,000 years, maybe because they're not asking for outside help. Is that because of pride? Is it because they don't trust anybody else? Is it because they feel like they have it under control and they're always just this close to winning? Who knows? We don't know yet. Probably all of those things. But we're going to see a society that I think is based very strictly in a set of cultural, societal norms, likely influenced by the religious hierarchy. It might not even really be religious. It could be just spiritual. But I'm getting strong senses of an organized religion at the head of state, a proper fucking theocracy. And I think what we're going to see as parallels to Japanese culture is that it is all of us are together. There is a forced hegemony that anybody who is seen as outside the norm is seen as a weakness of that society. So there is a big collective push that may be very based in shame, similarly to how Japanese society works, that culturally, societally, people are motivated by shame, what they believe to be acceptable and what they believe to be not, based on their peers, based on what their peers' expectations are. I think there's going to be a whole lot of, like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of narrative beats that end up being kind of similar to things we saw during ARR in Kurthus. I think that we're going to see a whole lot of looking at people who are outsiders, looking at people who are maybe dissenters. Yeah, I mean, it's very... I wanted to stop here because I want to talk about this too, but I think we're going to see a lot of examples of characters who are seen as dissenters in some way or are not on board with the plan in some way. They go against the Holy See, which sets that precedence that must be followed by all. And when I say that I think the society is going to be streamlined and set on a track, is that there is a very simple flowchart. Every citizen, everyone who lives here follows a very simple flowchart. You're born, you're a child. During that time, you do very specific things. You become an adolescent. You do very specific things. At that point, it might be branching out, probably based on gender. Men become soldiers. Women become managers of everything outside the military. I don't know if we're going to see those gender designations here. I don't expect it necessarily. We'll just have to see how their society is structured. But we do know that some of their tenets are likely going to be as geometric, as thought out, pre-planned, mathematical, structured, strict, you know, absolutely lockstep, in line, soldiers in a row, all of them identical. I think we're going to see that mirrored in the culture here. And yeah, this is a grand view. You've got this very long, narrow channel with a whole lot of symmetry. There's a lot of detail here, and things like this are designed in architecture. These things are designed to make you small, to make you feel small. It's one thing that's especially done within cathedrals, is cathedral architecture is meant to make you feel small. It is designed to intimidate you. If you've ever been into a well-built church, a church that as soon as you enter, it gets, you might not even notice, it gets eerily quiet. You have some reverberation, you have some hearing what you're saying, and all of a sudden it gets really quiet. There is an intense volume inside the building in which your voice gets lost. And we are very comfortable either being outside where we expect to not necessarily hear ourselves again, but when we step in buildings, we are very used to hearing ourselves reverberate off the walls, and it's very subtle. A lot of cathedrals and churches are designed to make you be quiet because they intimidate you by not letting you hear yourself as well. And you may say, well, Mico, there's an echo. It's different. When you walk in, you suddenly no longer hear your breathing. You don't hear things the same way as you did. They're designed for very specific acoustic effects. And these are because psychologically, they make you feel small. They are supposed to make you sense the presence of something greater than yourself, and you can guess why. So if you ever go to a cathedral, please understand that was the form and function of how it was designed, was to make you feel small. And if you feel it, now you know why. It's not an accident. It's probably not God either, let's be real. Yeah, it's one thing that we see, and when I did a little bit of structural anatomy, that too. But when I was really pursuing art, I did a lot of looking into actual architecture and design because I was just fascinated by it, you know. I never wanted to be an architect, anything like that, but I looked into it a lot, and so I started researching, and I was in love with Gothic cathedrals, as most people end up being at some point in their life, I think. And I wanted to know, like, how the fuck did they arrive at that style? It's so unique and it's aesthetic. So I started reading on the mechanics of cathedrals and why they were built that way, and it ended up being a lot of the psychological effect of humbling people instinctively when they walk inside it. But there was a contrast there with, like, the Southern Baptist churches, which are made to be much more homey. They're made to be much more intimate, and they're about community rather than being about one's relationship with God, which I think says a lot on its own. And so yes, they are largely designed to do different things. They're not meant to intimidate you. They're meant to be warm and inviting, and they're meant to make you feel at home. So they were designed, largely they were built like houses in the area. A lot of structures will look like churches, but churches ended up just being a little bit bigger. And often single floor if they didn't have like wings and balconies and stuff, which they might have. But typically your typical Southern Baptist church, as was built, not necessarily in colonial times, but your traditional Baptist church had different architectural designs. Some of them deliberate, I'm imagining most of them practical, but the difference is very interesting to me. And a lot of times I think it wasn't deliberate, but sometimes I do think that it was a happy accident that they then copied. So we'll see. Yeah. Yes, there is an isolation to this city. And I think it's partly because it is one of the... I imagine it was absolutely packed, especially when it was released, and everyone in the server is flooding into the city. But now, yes, there is a big sense of isolation. Another reason that you're going to feel isolated is that you don't see windows near you very often. Like, look at this. You got this grand thing. Do you see big windows anywhere? Maybe in the distance, but you're not going to be looking at those like, hey, someone's looking at me right now. And now that you're looking for them, you're saying, yeah, there, these with the lights on. But the reality is that at no point do you really feel like anything can see you. Over here maybe a little bit more, but this makes it feel more homey. This is more residential. This is more where you feel like you're in and among people. But you go back up here and there is a feeling of being isolated because you are not clearly in the presence of other people. And it's not an accident. It's not an accident. People tend to get quiet when they feel alone. And I think it's all meant to build up this impressiveness, this intimidation toward whatever the fuck is in there is very important, especially because that is lit up. I'm going to imagine that's the head of the Holy See right there. I wouldn't be surprised. And these might be heroes of the age. They're not all literally the same because these guys don't have axes. I think they're alternating. Are they always alternating? If they're alternating, then we have a pattern. They're always alternating, so it's a pattern. It may not be that everyone got their own statue, like each of these are maybe like the past popes, if you will. But I'm imagining this is the Pope, and they're like, hey, he's in charge, and here when you feel alone, this fucker can see you. And that's an important message to give your people if you're the Pope. I can see you when you feel alone. Yeah. So I think that's all important. Oh shit, hookah? Damn, I want to join oh, it's tea. Never mind, I was gonna say, I want to join this religion. All right, let's get the Aethernet here, and there we go. Hello, Big Jim. Older brother of Slim Jim, whose meat I ate a lot when I was an older teen. There we go. All right, Chiffon. The warrior of light and his brave companions walking the streets of Ishgard at last. What a glorious sight. Here we go. I cannot tell you how long I've waited for this day. Allow me to present to you my family home, Fortom Manor. Oh, he actually lives here. This is the man's residence. On the main walkway up to the front of the church, he's got to be very influential here. I should like nothing more than to show you around, but everyone is gathered to receive you. Come, my friends, introductions must be made. Ah, a shitload more EXP. Yeah, I forgot about the MSQ EXP Bukake.
My lord, I have returned with the scions.
Not all of them, unfortunately.
I hope your journey was not too taxing.
Red-black coloration, pale dark hair. He has blue eyes, but he's also got a mustache, pointed ears. And what's really... So he looks like a villain. We all know that. We get that instantly. The camera angle here is very interesting. We are lower than him looking up, which gives him a power over us. But it's also interesting that they've put the light right behind him. I know Japanese writers and game designers historically love to have Christian and Catholic imagery. Not for any reason other than it's literally cool to them. It's an aesthetic that is popular. It's not necessarily a symbolic thing. However, it is very Christian and Catholic to have a strong light behind the head of a Christ-like figure, a deified character, if you will. So if this were legitimate and if this were intentional, and both of those have big ifs, it would be suggesting something divine about this man, who is also powerful because we have a low camera angle looking up at him. Those are some things to think about. Moving on. He has a cane. Interesting. He's either old or he has some history. He's both.
I, Count Edmond de Fortom, do bid you welcome.
Chiffon's dad is interesting. Okay. Familial relations are always going to make me go, because parental betrayal, parental failure, parental death, father figures do not do well in Japanese writing traditionally. They're either obstacles, and if they're not obstacles, then they die. Well, they die if they're obstacles too. Fathers don't live long in popular Japanese writings.
As wards of House Fortom, you shall be afforded every courtesy. My home is your home.
My companions and I are deeply honored, Count Fortom.
On one hand, I know there's nobody... Nice. On one hand, I know there is nobody else among the three of us who would be speaking here. It's his memoirs. He's a good boy then. He has to be. Yeah, I knew I needed to remember that guy's name, but I did not remember his name. He's the one writing the memoirs. That is vital to the story. He's ultimately a good guy, 100%. So I know that there is no possible way that I would be saying anything here, and Tataru would not be appropriate to talk here. I understand that. So Alfino has to be the one to say something here, mechanically. It just has to be him. However, I am tired of him speaking for me. New voice actor doesn't change who he is. I'm hoping that we don't see him, that we can get rid of his old personality entirely. I hope Heavensward, new expansion, new season, new Alfino. Really hoping to see that.
The honor is mine, Master Alfino. Consider it an expression of our gratitude for your service to Ishgard.
Okay.
Forgive me, my lord, but are you not concerned? To accept foreign guests at such a juncture, especially ones with our reputation.
Do not worry yourself on my account. 'Tis true that Ishgard's first thought has ever been the war effort, hence the closing of our borders, yet it is in troubled times most of all that men should seek allies, don't you think?
Great delivery. He's reminding me a lot of Final Fantasy XII again, actually. He's reminding me of Count Andor, who throughout the game is the narrator and is one of the only survivors, apart from the main cast of protagonists, of course. He's one of the only political survivors throughout the story, who still has any position to have known what happened. So he ends up narrating the whole thing, interestingly. But he ends up in a similar narrative function as this guy. So we'll see what happens. I still suspect that much like Andor, he may end up having to play both sides because there is ever a juggling act. There is ever not even because of writing conventions, but just looking at the reality of his situation. He is taking a political risk. He's going to have to make concessions, or he's going to have to reassure either political opponents, or he's going to have to reassure the Holy See that what he's doing is under control. So there is going to be an amount of him having to play to the politics of the scenario that he is in. But there's also going to potentially be a matter of him pushing us out for political insulation, either to protect himself or to protect us. And I would not be surprised if at some point he is poised, as a red herring, it won't be real, but he is poised to act against us, or if he has to make a show of acting against us, but still secretly helps us, which is something that Andor does in 12. And that would be interesting because if he's just a good guy the whole time, that's a static character, and it might even still be a flat one on top of it. So I'm hoping that we do see some interesting intrigue, even if, because he's the narrator, because he is the one writing this memoir, we know two things. He probably survives, or his memoir is completed during the narrative, in which case he probably dies shortly after, and then that's just his sort of final gift to us is the truth. Perhaps it is his memoir that everyone reads and then gets the true account of what happened, potentially. He may end up being our final advocate that ends up doing a lot of things. There are a lot of ways that this could go. Knowing very little, it's like, a shotgun in that the spread is like this, and we're trying to figure out, what direction's going to hit something here, what's going to be the one path. It's so hard to, at this point, lay out realistic predictions for what can happen. But those are some of the beats I would anticipate as possibilities, realistic possibilities in the future. But they could go any direction, and there's not a right or wrong answer yet.
Granted, my decision will have raised eyebrows in the vault and in the halls of the other high houses.
Yeah, the political intrigue. We've dealt a little bit with this, though, already with Shifan.
But so long as you continue with your altruistic endeavors, I doubt my honored peers will feel moved to voice their concerns.
Foreshadowing, that's exactly what's going to happen, is that our endeavors will not be seen as altruistic. At some point, we will be called into question, and then he will have a hard time batting them away from us, or he may actually have to concede the political environment, and we will end up not welcome here anymore, either as a Thane in order for him to maintain his position, but also still secretly help us, like I said, or has to actually distance himself, and we end up only being able to work with his son, who himself might actually end up being excommunicated, either from the household or from the city. Who knows? I doubt we're going to get exiled that hard until we are able to get back into the rest of Eorzea. For a time, we're going to be limited to everything that's here in Ishgard. I don't necessarily want to go back south again, only because we have spent the entirety of ARR bouncing between like 4 places, and I really do want to see more. Ultimately. So I'm hoping that there's more than just one little region up here, up north. If it's not, that's fine. But the only way for us to be able to get exiled here is for us to have become welcome back in the south. I doubt they're going to exile us from both, and then we're just, well, guess I'll die because I got nowhere to go. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. There are a lot of great opportunities here, and this is one thing I love about Final Fantasy, is that they do political intrigue so well. The highlight of ARR was the end of 2.55 through the banquet scene, where we see all these little things finally come together in this beautiful fucking crescendo, leading up to our exile. You know, getting over the old complaint I have, you know, ignoring that. The way that it played out with the rise of Lolo Rito finally from the shadows, his plan revealed, you know, and all of the fallout from that, the way it all came together was beautiful. That was the highlight of the writing in ARR to me, was the political upheaval that happened in Ul'dah. I was so excited about it when I realized it was coming together, when I realized that's what we're getting, is political upheaval in Ul'dah. Finally, these tensions between the Sultanate and the Monitress is going to come to a head somehow, you know, and it did so fucking well. So I'm excited to see that we are already laying the groundwork and foreshadowing the kind of political upheaval that will probably run throughout the entirety of this expansion, because everything we're seeing so far is setting up a very challenging political environment where everything we do is going to have political implications. We cannot avoid that sort of thing. We did engage politics throughout ARR in trying to get the city-states on our side, and the Alphinauz rise as a self-proclaimed diplomat, and his attempt to engage in politics himself and getting to see people bap him down, sit down child, especially Merlefib, love her. I think she'll be the first one to advocate for us, by the way. I really do. When inevitably we get our honor restored. But we're seeing a lot more of that happen a lot sooner here. And the only reason we're seeing it sooner here than we were in the other expansion in ARR is because ARR's exposition had to also establish the rules of the world. We couldn't get into politics before we knew what the world even fucking looked like. We had to know what the unifying threats were, the events of 1.0 to some extent, the concept of a warrior of light, the existence of a city-state, this sort of thing. We're only introduced to little bits of the world at a time as we're building up that grand exposition, which now is understood. So as a sequel, we can jump right into the good shit, which is great. So that's the only reason that ARR didn't focus as much on the politics as early as this one can. So I'm very excited about that. So I'm very good. Each of the expansions gets a real good card castle. I fucking hope so. Yeah. Yeah. Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I expected there to be a building of a card house and then just a grand deconstruction of it. And it all comes falling down at the same time. Like, that's a real fucking great finale when that happens. All these little things that have just been like right on a knife's edge, teetering, but still somehow holding. And then finally, it's not even a big bomb blast going off sometimes. It's just... and then everything falls apart. That's like a Tarantino kind of finale, and I'm a big Tarantino fan because he writes conclusions. He writes climaxes so well, I think, because he does that. A very tense card castle, and then at the end, it's just... and then everything fucking explodes all at once narratively. It's so great. An entire field of dominoes just not even falling over, just getting fucking blasted. It's great. I like it. I do like to also see the methodical collapse in slow motion. Like, there's no wrong way to do it as long as it is satisfying in the end. I can't wait. There's going to be some great upheaval here. I can already feel it.
Then there is naught to fear.
Yeah.
Though our numbers are much reduced, we are no less determined to carry on our work.
Full glad am I to hear it. But before you return to your labors,
oh, great
why not
delivery.
take a tour of the city?
I was like, God, that was a beautiful line.
You would do well, I think, to acquaint yourselves with your new surroundings. After all, you may be here for some time.
That's also a nod to the player themselves, saying you're not probably going back to the city-states anytime soon, within the context of the MSQ. Of course, I can go teleport there back now, but within the narrative, we are going to be staying here this whole time, right? Tarantino did Pulp Fiction and Glorious Bastards. That's right. I think he also did Valkyrie. I could be wrong. God, I can't remember the other ones he did. The one with Leonardo DiCaprio. He punches the table, but he actually smashes a glass and cuts his hand. Is it the Django Unchained? Tarantino is just a pseudonym that Tataru uses. Is she the writer? Ah, but she holds her quill in her hat. Should inspiration strike, she can scribble it on her arm. Fucking Tataru. Best girl. Okay, I am going to talk to all these people. But first, we are going to get cozy. Chat. We're going to get cozy. This cushion's mine. Join me by the fire, chat. I wish I could... Is there a button to look at the camera outside of G-pose? Is there a way to do that? I want to be able to do, fuck it. The cushion has been there we go. Get rid of the UI. There we go. All right, chat. I had a damn good time with you. The camera's all the way over here. What the fuck were you looking at, bun boy? Anyway, I had a good time. I had a great time with this. I'm so glad that we're in Heavensward. I feel so energized to get into this. The little bit I've seen has been very good. Very good. The environment design has been phenomenal. It's setting up a lot of unspoken expectations, and I don't think you have to be able to analyze these things specifically in order to feel them, which is all that matters. The artist's job is not to appeal to the critic. The artist's job is to make the audience know or feel what it is they want them to know and feel. And in that, I think that they will have been very successful. I think you don't have to know anything about architecture. I don't think you have to know anything about narrative structure and analysis. I don't think you have to know anything about environmental design to know that what they've done here feels very good. My job, though, as the analyst is to be able to come in and say, if you liked this, that's why, and to be able to try and break those things down. And I've had a great time with this, and I cannot wait to do more. I can wait. I'm gonna wait for about 20 hours, actually. We'll be back tomorrow, 1 hour earlier than we were tonight, in order to continue this, because there's no raid night this week. For those of you on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed. For those of you on Twitch, I will be on the Discord, and I hope you've had a good time with this. Before we end each episode every night, though, what I want to start doing is I want to have an opportunity for people to ask questions. And these questions can be, if you want to know more of a breakdown of something specific, if you have questions for me, non-spoiler things that you want to talk about, it's not quite an AMA, but I want to make sure that at the end of this full, me sitting down and analyzing this for 3 hours, that everyone feels satisfied with the conversations that were had at this point. And they don't have to come back necessarily and make addendums the next day. You have a pause key on your keyboard that does it. Oh. One is face forward and the second will be towards... Oh, I see. Hit the spacebar twice and it'll reset where he's looking. Oh. I'll try that. Let me do that. End group pose. Yes. Oh. Oh, you mean within group pose. Okay. There we go. I love that there are shortcuts for it. We'll see. Yeah, this entire expansion's also on a, yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's so interesting to me that you can have all of ARR and Heavensward in the free trial. That is a fucking lot of video game to give you for free. It's so good. It's okay, Fern. I was reading and I'm like, I believe you, but I think it'll also make me jump. Oh, the Manos instance, you can't come in here with me? That's fine. I'm warm. Fuck you guys. Stay cold. And post Heavensward, that's right. Everything before what Shadowbringers is the next one. Is it Shadowbringers or Stormblood? I think it's Stormblood is next, right? Yeah, it's a fucking lot of game. It's a lot of game. It's pretty good. Stormblood, gotcha. Yeah, post Heavensward is good. Oh man. Well, for those of you who have lived it before, I hope you're enjoying my my virginal playthrough, and I hope it's given you some nostalgia for it, and I hope that I can bring new context to a story that I'm sure you all know and love very well. So, I had a good time with this. There we go. Oh, Kat asks, I know you aren't a musician, but any thoughts on the music you've gotten so far? Yeah, I think I mentioned it, but I didn't really talk about it too much. I do not have a mechanical understanding of music, but I can tell you the emotional evocation of certain music, right? We had a pretty stunning transition of music from the lower level of the city to the upper level of the city. And it was part of what struck me to stop, but it's also the beautiful highlight we had of the sun coming over the roofs there and setting over the roofs. The lens flare just, my boner. Fucking great. But the music changed so much from something that was very regimented. I feel like Fern could do a great job here. She actually has, you know, a much more intimate understanding of music than I probably ever will. I would actually love to know her thoughts, actually. There we go. Oh, I have mail. I forgot to check it. I forgot to check it like a week ago. Okay, whatever. There was a stunning transition from the almost a marching theme, a lot of, I don't want to say minor tones because I know that's a technical term and I might not be using it the right way, but it was sharp, sour. I mean, those are the words that I want to use. It seemed tense without being sad. It was standing at attention, you know. It was very much the emotional state of that lower level. It felt unsecure. It felt exposed. It felt pressured. I mean, these are the emotional responses I had toward the music I was hearing at the bottom. But you got up top, and the reason I said wistful, I remember saying that word, is because the music was slower, it was lighter, it was all those things. There's a certain hollowness to certain Heavensward. Yeah, I would say the lower level was hollow, and I think it definitely deliberately meant to be hollow. There's an emptiness. I don't want to go as far as to say hopelessness, but there is an emptiness. There is a loneliness to it. With this, it's much warmer, it's softer, there's not nearly as much pressure. So we'll see. Like the dragons could attack at any moment. Exactly, Panda. Sound design in general, and the music, the sound effects, the acoustics sometimes get programmed in. I mean, if you played New World, the failed MMO from Amazon, I played it on launch because it had such promise, like most MMOs do. I played it. My favorite thing about the game to this day was the sound engineering. When you use your pickaxe on a boulder, download the game just to hear the incredible sound design. When you use your pickaxe to hit a boulder, you hear it, and it sounds like it would sound outside. It sounds like it's in the open air acoustics. And you hear the reverberation on a cliff come back to you. You hear it. Like, what the fuck? The sound effects change if you're in an open field versus near a forest. The sound is different. It blows my fucking mind that we're getting that level of acoustic rendering. Like, to get that in this game, I would just be coding my keyboard the whole time. Yeah, the people up here are just chilling behind a wall of expendable peasants. Exactly. Yeah, the flowchart that decides what everyone in life does is definitely going to split between status with the church, status in society as far as wealth. They're going to be the haves and the have-nots. It's going to be all of us are together doing our job. But if you're wealthy enough, you don't have to get drafted. You can get out of the draft if you're privileged. Otherwise, you're to the front lines, and if you die, who were you again? Yeah. Yeah, soft violins, it's great. We've got, that might be harp. I think it's harp. Maybe it's some string thing. As far as I got. It reminds me almost of music from Oblivion. Some of the town themes. Yeah. There's no urgency whatsoever. It's all so relaxed. Yeah, and I think that's important. This is a place that couldn't feel farther from the war. It's great. I think the sound design has been fantastic so far. The music has felt very proper for every area, and then it has set a tone before even my eyes had an opportunity to look at it. There we go. Good night, Siren. I'm going to give one more chance for anybody else. If there's anything you want to talk about, we can. I'm not in a rush. I could sit here forever, but I do want to stare at a wall for a minute. I'm still not feeling great after dinner, so it's kind of why I want to get done. I'm running out of energy to be able to ignore it. I want to go lay on the floor in my office and just stare at the ceiling fan and be like, bleh. I'm very excited for this. The little bit that I've seen so far, realistically, I've probably seen about 10 minutes of dialogue and cutscene and walking around, but I've extended it out to 3 hours, which I hope is not a pattern. But there's always going to be a lot to talk about in the beginning because there's a lot of information being given to the player that after this point, just like the beginning of ARR had to be kind of slow because there's not just the narrative structure of the problems going on in ARR, but there's also all the world building that had to be done in the beginning that kind of bloats the exposition. Same thing happens at the beginning of an expansion. So there's a lot to break down, all the changes, you know. Yeah. All right. Thanks again for the gear, Funkle. I appreciate it. They look fucking cool. I hope I can make a look out of them, you know. I hope I can make a glam set that goes with them. It's going to be great. So it looks like that's everything. I will be back tomorrow night where we will pick up right here. And that'll be great. And for the rest of you on YouTube, thanks for hanging out with me. For those of you on Twitch, I'll see you in Discord. Good night.